Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of By the Numbers, a special episode in the sense that it should be 100, but we haven't called it 100, even though it is 100. We're calling it 99.5 because for the 100th episode, we want to do something special. We've talked to Moses, we've talked to Anders, but we weren't able to kind of get it in time for this. Moses is obviously busy with events, so's Anders. Anders as well on his birthday decided to collapse and go to hospital. We're wishing him well. Apparently there's nothing wrong with him. He's better. But that was just a shock out of the blue. So we're glad he's okay because we love him dearly. But anyway, yes. Lots to talk about. I'm your host, Richard Lewis. This is He's still laughing. What have I done? Have I done a logo already?
I was just thinking. I was thinking in my head, should I say some fucked up joke like he's out of hospital now? Turns out he doesn't even get a day rate while he's in there. So you know,
yeah. No, he sent to the hospital like this isn't a business class bed. And,
exactly.
No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, all rumors. All rumors.
Much love to Anders. We actually do like him.
Yeah, indeed. We absolutely do. And that's why we can joke about him, see? It's how it works usually. So anyway, except on Duncan's League of Legends show that died abruptly recently. That was classic banter. I do want to just say, before we do the sponsor shout out and everything, people don't understand the dynamic that was in play at Listen Loco. People were like messaging me about it, going, oh, Duncan's had another like unfiltered style meltdown. And I'm like, that really isn't what's happened. Like, what's happened is you've watched a man work, but pretty much have to be the guy who's like Sisyphus or whatever the fuck it was, pushing the boulder up the hill endlessly to get that show to like 100 episodes or whatever, while constantly being like needled by somebody that is the named beneficiary of the show. On his channel. Duncan's doing it completely for free. And you do ask yourself sometimes, like, why am I doing it? So it was just one of those, like, we all have snaps. I mean, shit, we've had some terse exchanges on this fucking show, like, but never had a walkout. But I thought it was brilliant. It's all
it was great.
Now.
It's great drama. Yeah.
Yeah, great TV. Great TV.
That's actually how you know it was real, by the way, because if it actually was at all even semi-fake, I would have just said we should lean into the whole like phase angle, like, you know, then he should have done his vlog on YouTube, like, you know, here's where I felt about it, and then I would do my response, you know, and then what happened is, you know, maybe someone's girlfriend had come in and say one of us was lying, and then at the end of the day, after a bunch of absolutely dog shit level drama, you go, as a fan, I didn't really find anything out, and they're just fucking counting stacks off like it's too easy. I always thought those COD people were geniuses. It's just WWE, isn't it?
Oh yeah, totally. WWE, but with just higher levels of corruption, and less convincing personalities. Like, so anyway, shout out to our sponsors for the show. You can go check out .com. They announced as well today that they're going to be doing a partnership with an artist that you might have seen. His first picture was one of me, and he's obviously very talented because he managed to make me look less like some esports.
I believe he's actually Anders' mate. Isn't he?
He is. Wheezy T. Wheezy T. Yeah,
he's had person there.
Yeah, and anyways, we partnered up with him to make some esports themed, style art. So go and support him. It's at Wheezy_T. Go follow him. And of course, as well, if you are thinking about betting on some esports events and you want to be absolutely certain that you're going to be doing it in a safe, licensed, ethical environment, and you will actually get your winnings should you be lucky enough to win, make sure you get an account at .com and sign up there and follow everything they're doing. They've been supporting us. They recently said as well, Sam, that they'll be supporting us until at least 2021. They put that out publicly.
Nice. That's my fucking food on the plate for at least another year. Good news.
Yeah, you get to fall.
Well, that's what's important, man. I know, fucking hell.
Listen, it's hard input, Tom.
I know. He didn't go like,
they didn't tell me that as well. They just put it out publicly.
Going on for another year. Great. And that's great. He goes, he's my fucking money taken care of.
No, but that is literally how Sam operates, like on a purely just unbelievable selfish level. Like he's just it's like people think, okay, right? So people think that we have this like relationship where like, you know, we're talking all the time and we're planning stuff out. Like literally now it's got to the stage where it's just like we turn up and do the fucking show and then see you later, mate. See you. And that's it. Like I never hear from.
Yeah, it's not our choice, to be fair. We have.
We are in different together. Countries, yeah, exactly. Time zones. Yeah, we are 8 hours apart.
And then 3 months a year, we're right next to each other. Yeah, mate.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And you will be out here. We'll be able to do like daily content. I'll make the bold promise. Sam says he's going to come out here. Next year, I'm going to do daily content. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's a lie,
Bang
of
it
course.
out.
We'll
Yeah,
be
we'll
wrecked.
see.
Wrecked the entire
You
time.
need to make some sort of a rule then. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah,
it
what's
needs
that?
to be a rule before 6 p.m. your time. No consumption of any substances
Mate,
that
then
may
nothing's
induce
going to get
fatigue.
done, mate. Nothing's going to get done.
Yeah, but what you see, this is the trouble with you, Sam. What you do is, right, you've mind fucked yourself into thinking the drugs make you active.
He thinks it's a performance enhancer.
Yeah, no, he's like
Mate,
Sam
it's on the
Kinison
list.
doing rails
It's
before
on
he
the
goes on
list,
stage. No, I need to do this. It makes me better.
Yeah.
It inspires me creatively.
It's the character.
Okay,
It's the
ever done
character.
that for anybody. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, no, that doesn't happen. Like, you just get baked and watch fucking 10 seasons of Dogs
I'm
About
the
You.
dog.
You know, there is one thing. Here's the thing. I'll tell you right now, I do think Sam Kinison was brilliant. I love a lot of his material. But at the same time, if people just don't understand drugs, like, that wasn't just insane charisma where he was like, like, that's just cocaine. That's just cocaine before the show. I'll be doing that at a party, mate, if you fucking give me too much.
I'll say this about Sam Kinison, like, great in 10-minute bursts, but fun, much like cocaine in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Dropped off hard, I'm imagining.
But like, imagine a 2-hour HBO special of that; it would be fucking exhausting. I think so.
Absolutely, yeah.
Dead now, of course, so irrelevant. Anyway,
Can't sue us for defamation. So.
But anyway, so shout out to all the patrons that brought the show back from the dead. Let's talk about some CS. And man, did we have again a great event over in Odense that was marred by a couple of incidents that we'll get to once we've talked about the event in full. Obviously we had the ESL Pro League Season 10 finals. Really feel this one kind of knocked it out the park in terms of, like, just again, good quality games, interesting storylines that were kind of bursting through, and of course a great denouement with the Mousesports story. Let's just pick through the bones of this one. I gotta say, let's talk a little bit about North. I feel like we don't talk about them a lot on this show anymore, as they've sort of slipped into irrelevancy. But they went out in last place here at the ESL Pro League Season 10 finals, and they've just failed to qualify for Katowice because they lost to that team, Nemiga.
Right. Sorry, I was thinking of this tournament. Yeah.
Yeah. Which are the Belarusian team,
Yes.
I think, if I remember right.
I believe that's named after a river in Belarus.
Yeah, and it's not even, it wasn't even close. Sure, it's a best of one, but it was on Nuke. North historically have been decent on that map.
Yeah.
You would have backed them. And I think this will just feed into what we were talking about on last week's episode, where, you know, I just think the North experiment has absolutely failed. And it's only getting worse, and they're really starting to slip into that sad Virtus Pro territory where they've stuck around too long without any identity or clear plan. They've now got, I would even go as far as to say, some tier 3 talent from Denmark on the roster. And when you consider this was at one point, I want to say, one of the most highly paid teams in the world.
When they became North, certainly.
Yeah, this is like sort of a sad state of affairs to be in, and very hard to see how they can kind of in the saddle of being a top tier organization. It could be that they might need to completely break this team apart because, you know, Gade, Yugi, these are not names that set the world on fire. I've said it for a while. I think Gen.G is done as a top tier talent. And he should be looking to other opportunities and leveraging his experience in another way than just being a starting roster player. And then you've got AZ, the ever living, and Kiebi. Kiebi's really probably the only one that comes out of this with any sort of top tier credentials that could go to another team. But I don't know what form that would take or which roster would pick him up. So I think North are at the absolute rock bottom right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the worst problem they have is this is, you know, normally with most teams, any team, I'll go off the top of my head, any team ranked in the top 10, I know North isn't, but, you know, in the past they have been, which is why it's relevant.
Absolutely.
If you're a top 10 team, usually it's only one player change could literally take you to top 5 or even being potentially the best. Because usually what it takes to make you top 10 is you've got to have some nous, you've got to have some maps you're good on, you've got to have some players that play well, probably even one very good player usually. So the problem is, as you've alluded to there, mate, this isn't even one player. Like, I'd sweep the fucking deck with this team. I told you before, as soon as I heard about the Optic news, I absolutely thought, right, I've got the move for you, North, but you're not going to like it. You have to go on hands and knees with your fucking cap out and beg MSL to start a new squad in this team. And you're going to just start from zero. He's going to be the man and you're going to build it up. Because I heard one of the reasons that they let MSL go wasn't just that they hadn't had the results, etc. Because, you know, like you don't, as I'd hope everyone's learned from the FaZe scenario, just because your IGL's not absolutely at his peak form now doesn't mean literally anyone's better than him. That doesn't make any sense at all. We've actually learned that the hard way with teams like FaZe. So I think what happens is, they behind the scenes, I basically just heard it was stuff like their coaching stuff. Like I think Ave was the coach at the time. I think he just didn't agree with the way that MSL called. Maybe he thought it was too rigid. Now I'll say there's another angle that people don't realize about North. I always say this. They've basically, as far as I can tell, invested as much as fucking Astralis has. Like they've had a whole coaching staff, a change of coaches even. They've brought in different people. They've got all these legendary figures, just like Zonic. They've got people like that behind them in the organization. They've just never had the results. And I think if you look through the players, man alive, this gets underwhelming when you go through these names now. Because even when you were going through them before, it was like, well, maybe he gets better. Maybe he's on the way up. No.
It was always Valde.
Exactly, to save the day at least. Whereas I'd say this, I saw a stat today that HLTV.org put out, and it was one of those ones where it should be to big a player up. And it just made me realize, holy fuck, this guy's a pro player. It said that Gade at ESL Pro League, where obviously he came like fucking, I only played 3 maps or something. So he only played 3 maps, and it said he had his best ever rating in his career, which was 1.17. It's out. Like I'm done with that now. How has this guy played in a team for like 2 years? This guy's been a top professional player, like you say. I assume at the beginning, getting a fucking good salary in a team that literally is like your country's biggest football club. You play it, I've joked about it, but it's a big deal. You play it in a fucking sports stadium. Like you're literally being treated. It's like when Complexity first joined the Dallas Cowboys. I even used to think back then, it's kind of fucked, isn't it? That some of these like shitter NA pros get to go into like 6 facilities, top of the line sports tech. And it's like, it's almost wasted on them, mate. What's the point? Like they're never going to be that good. So I look at this team, I agree with you. Even from Denmark, I'd just swipe the deck with this. Like, you look at the heroic team, they're way better than fucking North at the moment. Like, I'd take some of them players, I'd take some of the ex-Optic players. You can make a squad right now. And the fact that the configs of the world aren't even in Denmark anymore, Kerrigan's off in Mouse, like, you're left in a pretty bad spot. That's why I say to me, MSL's the only way out of it. Like, he's your best chance to get some of this, something going forward that's actually a real team.
I mean, here's what's really telling as well. You know, from watching this tournament from start to finish, think about it. It's in Denmark, right? And North are sponsored and kind of, you know, and have this association with FC Copenhagen. I don't think I saw one North jersey in the crowd. Like
they've never been a fan favorite. Let's be real, for good reason. So you got Astralis.
Yeah, so it's like your failure to sort of penetrate the market in that sense is very telling, and you're not going to capture hearts and minds with a team that is like literally wiping out of every tournament right now. So it's like it's been a failure.
I don't know if you saw this, but I'm almost certain from my memory that I saw not that long ago, maybe within the last month or two, that actually Wimp, who was like the director or whatever, he actually left. I don't know if he was fired, if he left, but there's another example. Like, unfortunately, when you have a real sports structure like that, you also have to treat it like a real sports structure. If the GM fails over 3 years, I mean, in esports terms, that means it'll be fucking 15 years, mate. I'm sorry, you have to go. I don't care who you are. I don't care that guy is one of the best CS players I've ever seen. Doesn't matter. If this is really what he did as a GM, it wasn't good enough. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, and I've said this as well, like, no disrespect to Ave, because, you know, he's a player I respect from back in the 1.6 days. Like, I think he got out fucking scot-free in terms of criticism.
I haven't seen him blamed at all.
Yeah, and failed upwards in doing so because he got to join Epic Games and probably is making a mint doing it. So he's had like some great jobs in esports despite very little credentials. And as I said, I'm always a bit pernickety about people who like they were in esports, then they said I'm getting out of esports, it's shit this, and then they come back like 10 years later. Now we got all the fucking high salary jobs and it's all, and we've stayed and professionalized it for them, and they go, hey, remember me, I was that legend. Like, fuck off, dickhead. Like, you know what I mean? But whatever, that's just my bitterness.
No, here's the thing, especially if you're in a new job, you got to pay your dues there. One of of the best explanations I ever heard that I always remembered in esports was when the legendary Quake player from back in the day called Machiavelli, he actually does commentary now on Quake Champions. When he was switching from Quake 2 to Quake 3, he was actually the best player at the end of Quake 2, right? And when he switched to Quake 3 and people did interviews with him, they were obviously like trying to get him because he was a smack talker to hype himself up, like, oh, come on, are you going to be the best in Quake 3? Like, you know, you must be so good. And that. And he just said at the beginning, like, you know what? I used to be the best in the old game. In the new game, I'm going to have to pay my dues like everyone else. I'm going to have to take losses to beat who are the best now. Like, I'm going to have to work my way up. And I hope people would actually like treat me basically based on if I get the best in this game, not like I'm a legend from the other one. That is kind of bullshit. Like, that's cool for fans to talk about. You shouldn't yourself buy into that hype. You got to, like, that's one of the things I'm so disappointed at with these guys is it's like, I wanted you to put the same work ethic that you put into being the best IGL and the best player into actually fucking being the best executive, the best coach. If you'd have done that, maybe we'd have a different story here.
Yeah, totally. I agree with it for sure. And I just think at this moment in time, they need to have a very drastic rethink. And you're right, the only person out there that can really save North from mediocrity is MSL. But man, how embarrassing it is to have to go and ask him to do that for you after the way he was treated, which people seem to forget. You know, he's cut from a roster after he had his statistically best performance ever as an AWPer and won an MVP and a tournament for his team.
And I would just say this.
Stupefying.
Have I missed something? Did he do something at the majors since then, boys? No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put that all on him, you know.
Oh, wait. Did I get it mixed up? Did I talk about Ave going to Epic, or did I say it was Wimp? Sorry, I meant
I think
Wimp.
you said Ave, but you meant Wimp. You just
I meant Wimp.
The names up in your mind.
Yeah. Thanks for not correcting me, but someone in chat did.
No, I just wondered myself if I was wrong on that. I didn't actually know.
Yeah, no. It was my fuck. Basically, or both are. Is that true? Fucking hell.
Fair enough.
Double failing upwards. Guys, if you want to fail upwards in esports, get to fucking North. It turns out that's the plan. So speaking about, I mean,
fucking hell, Epic Games has got a hell of a roster. They've got Nate Nancer. They've got fucking this. I bet Scott Valencia can't get him to stop bloody ringing his phone.
He'll be back from the dead. Anyway, talk about Renegades.
Which remember is not the team that's 100 Thieves, because I kept making that mistake. Like I kept going. Like I remember when I was looking on this going, ooh, Mouse against Renegades, that might be hard. Oh, actually, fuck.
Oh no.
You know?
So what happened was Greyhound sold their team to Renegades. We pontificated a lot about why Renegades chose to buy it, why they want to commit to the Oceanic market and region when I just don't think it's going to be that lucrative for them. But this was the first outing for essentially the Greyhound guys under the Renegade banner. I mean, I don't know if you want to bring this up on screen, Sam, but like this, we bang on Dick Stacy on this fucking show, but can I just show you? When they played Astralis in their opening game, you can bring these stats up, like, and then you can also play the one of these things is not like the other. 4 for 21 against Astralis, like absolutely.
Speaking of failing upwards,
mate, but I don't know, like surely the fucking penny's got to drop with him at some point. Now, this is how you know it gets really bad, though. They labored to a win over the Brazilian team Sharks, and actually, Dick Stacy was the top fragger, as opposed to the top shagger he describes himself as in all the interviews or whatever. But I just thought like this kind of just was a typical Greyhound performance, just under a different banner, really. They turned up, they got banged out by good teams that were well prepared and not jet lagged. And then when they actually, they took a map here or there, which they're always liable to do, because remember, they have Dexter, they have Psycho, or Sicko, if you call it that way. Malta occasionally goes off. A lot of people like INS. There is like 1 or 2 players on that roster you could fucking pick up and maybe do something with and put them in an NA lineup or something like that. But honestly, they're just never going to get deep runs, and I don't understand why Renegades have got this team. It kind of feels to me that it must be with a plan to start changing this roster up, right?
You'd hope so. I mean, at the same time, though, this is the sort of thing. I might actually do a piece of content on this topic, but it'll have to be in a few months based on some of the things I know that haven't happened yet. But put it this way: if we're going to talk, I know it's just a rumor about the Cloud9 lineup later on. Lineups like that don't seem as crazy to me when I'm sometimes on the inside, because holy fuck, people when they start picking up teams become like a kid whose dad is going to buy them his first car, but he's only going to buy you like a second-hand one, and you're just trying to get him to buy literally any car, and you're like, oh, this seems all right, Dad. Look, it's it's got a few miles on it, but it'll be all right. It's a fixer-upper, isn't it? We can do that. It's like the way they'll mind fuck themselves into thinking a team they're buying, which has never done anything, is going to be really good, is mental. And most of them actually usually think it's with no roster moves because they stupidly talk to the players and the players just fill their ears full of shite. The same players who like to cry about them being exploited and all that don't mind lying like a motherfucker to every org about where they're going to place and what's going to happen. And the players always use the same lie that every player does because they believe it, which is, but if I was actually a pro and I had a proper salary, I'd really practice way harder and get a lot. But no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because you did on that to make your dream come true, you dumb fuck. Like, nobody's going to do that. It's nonsense. There's top players who don't still give their all. So, sadly, I think this is an example of a team where I think they just went in mixture of, like, really budget and then also cynically fucking exploiting that oceanic spot, thinking you'll get into a major. It's basically the cheapest min-max to get into a major, isn't it? Like, it's the best way to get some stickers. And then thirdly, probably naively believed the team would get a lot, but it's not going to. Let's be real. Like, look at the team. We know what it is. They're a known quantity.
There was a weird thing that happened, actually. I don't know if people saw this on Twitter. When I put out the article about Starladder being late with payments, the picture that Deserto used had Renegades. It was like the Renegades of Vanguard, was it quarterfinal, semifinal? Semifinal, wasn't it? From the
yeah, it was a semifinal, yeah.
And Ustillo, who used to play for Renegades, tweeted out, is that an ironic use of the Renegades logo? And then people were replying and sort of intimating that maybe Renegades hadn't paid their players or there was some financial weirdness going on.
Oh, actually, I think that might be an old school one, though, because I will say I don't think that was from the era of this team. I think that was actually Monty's era, because famously, one of the things that happened was, I know some of the Renegades players at the time told me they were just delayed payment for a while, which not they didn't get paid, as far as I know, it's just delayed. And as far as I know, that was one of those ones where, I don't know if you ever knew this, but on the LCS side, like LCS just literally, like Riot just didn't send the fucking stipends that like pay the players to like house. And something like that. And then even though they didn't do that, they like blamed Monty, and he was like, well, I literally haven't got the money. So I don't know if that's a knock-on from that. You'd have to ask Ustillo, because I think that was his era, because he got kicked out quite a while ago, from what I remember. Wasn't that like a year and a half ago he got kicked out?
Yeah. It's always hard to talk to players that you've been critical of in the past.
Oh,
but yeah, maybe I'll have to hit him up. But yeah, I not sold on Renegades, 9th to 12th here. But down there with them in 9th to 12th, well, I told you guys, everybody was fucking wanking off. Yes, I'm using the British term wanking. Right, wanking.
I know where you're going on this already.
Yeah, about FaZe. Oh, they've won a blast. Oh, they're back. Oh, Cold Zero. Oh, Nico. Oh, I don't know why they were Kenneth Williams, but whatever. But the reality is, I said, guys, it's a one-off event. It's a meaningless event. It's an event format that is designed to create chaos and have as many winners as possible. And they have no interest in fixing the format because it's fast food esports for morons. And people were like, no, FaZe have clearly improved. An event is an event. Well, they came here. They lost to MIBR, which, by the way, that must be hilarious for fucking Cold Zero to swallow that. Not only did he lose to fucking MIBR, he bottom fragged in that game.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to realise, guys, this is no joke. When he was towards the end in that team, he really thought he was the only one that had his shit together, and they were all the fucking idiots.
Yeah, remember that. Remember Cold Zero did that fucking interview where he went, everyone in Brazil CS is fucking garbage compared to me. And every time I called them out on it, they started crying. That was like his interview, right?
And by the way, I don't know if anyone's looked this up, but literally in FaZe, he's only been in the team for 5 LANs. He's already had 2 of his worst LANs ever in his whole fucking career, playing with bangers. People like how's he going to look at the other players? Listen, I look at Olaf and say he's washed up. Cold Zero's not going to say that. He's going to go, it's Olaf. I remember when he used to be,
Olaf said he was washed up. He even said
exactly. Fair play to him, by the way. What actual fucking legend he is. So, this is. I said this on Twitter. People were obviously trying to go in on me. I said this team is all about Nico learning that you need a real IGL, and Cold Zero's lesson is to be humble. He is going to be fucking humbled in this team, and he's going to quickly learn. I sort of need a whole team built around me. Then I'm an amazing player, of course.
I mean, that's what's hilarious about the FaZe run here. Cold Zero, I think, bottom fragged in like almost every map apart from one. And Olaf came out and did an interview and said, I was fucking shit.
Over the event,
So what does
Cold
that say about Cold, you know?
Cold Zero actually averaged less kills per round than deaths. And this is the biggest beta of all time. By the way, in a really good sense, but like, if you're a massive beta,
a trade fragger, not a beta.
That becomes baiting though when you die more than you fucking.
True. Yeah. Exactly. That's the difference between trading and baiting. Yeah, exactly. That's what Steele always used to say anyway. But let's just go over the run. Like I say, they lose to MIBR. They get into a best of 3 with Tyloo. That's a fucking absolute slog. They give a map up, and the map they gave up was like they were a map down, 16-7 on Inferno. Which is again crazy to think with this.
And that was, if you remember, that was where Tyloo didn't bring their new coach, who everyone claims is like they like revolutionized the game. So actually, that wasn't even in theory peak strength Tyloo.
Yeah, no, totally not. And then you go up against 100 Thieves, which of course is the old Renegades lineup that's over there right now. And again, it's a comprehensive loss. They took Dust too, 16-12, but Inferno and Mirage for 100 Thieves were very, very comfortable indeed. So you bomb out here, and I honestly just say, like, when you add the caveat that Kerrigan obviously ends up winning the tournament as an in-game leader and then does an interview where he says, I'm so proud of my young team. It's great to have people around me who listen to calls and follow the system. It's like, fucking chef's kiss. Like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure Kerrigan deliberately put that in there. It wasn't just some throwaway line.
Mate, that's where, this is one of the areas where I've actually realised, I've stopped actually blaming fans for seeming so stupid, because I realise part of it is they just don't understand subtext. And so they're what are you talking about, Richard? He was just talking about his young players like Frozig and Watskin. Read the fucking subtext, you idiot. He was simultaneously saying the right things while communicating like how you like these motherfucking nuts on your chin, boy. Like, put it this way, when Kerrigan left FaZe
pretty much,
and joined Mousesports, if you looked at those two lineups side by side and said, right, which one gets to championships first, as in like big ones, not fucking Blast Pro Series, everyone in the world, every fan in the world says FaZe Clan, especially if you find out they get Cold Zero later. Meanwhile, what do you know? This guy took all the players who never were fucking legends and stars, and he's now winning the tournament. Enough said, mate.
Yeah, and the worst part is, like I said, because I did that interview with Kerrigan over on the Rivalry channel, which made it to the front page of the subreddit, and a lot of people saw that one. And he was literally saying, it was pretty crazy what happened to him. I don't know if people understand this. So first of all, he dealt with all of the issues with Olaf having to be away for obviously personal issues. And he was in the position where he was like, he asked the team, we're all going to stand by Olaf, right? And he's going to come back. So let's just use some stand-ins. It was all agreed upon. They did that. Then Olaf needed an extended leave of absence. And then and then obviously when things were sort of going bad, when Olaf came back, they'd all been hyped for the return, thinking that was going to fix everything. And in actual fact, it didn't. And then people were getting pissed off with Kerrigan about that and like kind of undermining him in game. And Kerrigan was calling things and people were going, no, I'm not going to do that actually. And maybe we shouldn't do that, and second guessing him. And then he said, like, guys, we can't go on like that. We gotta either commit or we don't. And then FaZe, the owners, or whoever deals with the CS team over there, because I doubt it's the COD guys, they fucking turned around and said, listen, you're in, we're gonna get some new players, you're in charge. And then 2 days later, he got told he was out the team, and he got fucked. So it's crazy to think that everybody seemed to be on board with the idea that Kerrigan was some sort of problem in that lineup.
Oh, by the way, I'll give you a little...
It's insane to me.
I'll do what I consider actually one of my biggest strengths in esports, which is I'll read between the lines of what Richard just told you right there. Right? I believe those owners wanted Kerrigan. They understood his tenure, what he'd done for the squad, what he'd even done to their squads in the past that had pieces that were literally throwaways.
He won tournaments with stand-ins that are nowhere now. He won a tournament with Crawley.
Exactly.
Where is he?
Exactly. What a legend. With fucking Exist, when Exist was considered washed up and surplus to requirements, probably actually saved fucking Exist's career, by the way. So then, right, they come to him, and correctly, like you should in a sport, you pick the in-game leader who you think you can build you back up again. You say, right, you know what, team's yours, mate. Keys are yours. We'll just get some of the players. We'll figure out who's staying, and then you decide, right? And here's what happened. Obviously, in their brain, I'm going to go ahead and say, obviously Nico would be part of that team. You know, we've invested a lot. I mean, he's a superstar talent. We need Nico, right?
Yeah.
They go to him. I'm not going to say it was Nico, but I'd imagine Nico was involved in this decision. And that sounds to me like when they've gone to Nico, he's gone, actually, I've got an ultimatum for you. Kerrigan or me, or Kerrigan or me and this other guy, or Kerrigan and or all of us. And then after that ultimatum, they've then had to go, well, fucking hell, we thought it would, you know, be reasonable. Like it'd be Kerrigan and Nico, then maybe another one and two others. If it's literally Kerrigan or Nico, I mean, now we've got that is a tough choice, even though I know which way I would go. But then again, even I'd have to second guess that. I wouldn't be able to, in good faith, just do that as a snap decision. So unfortunately, the fact that they come back and go, you're out, that's the point. It's not even a negotiation, is it? So I'll read between the lines and say the players basically say, get the fuck out.
Well, and the other component was, of course, Nico was meant to be sold to MIBR. Apparently they'd had an agreement in principle, which is why the owner said to Kerrigan, like, we're backing you, you're rebuilding the team, Nico's out, right? Because they would have made a mint on that deal, but for whatever reason it fell through. And, you know, you think about all the players MIBR were trying to buy at that time because they were linked with Simple as well. It looked like they were trying to make like sort of phase Mark II essentially, and bring some like more star player, you know, some firepower into that roster, but it just never panned out. But you know, I think all things told, like there can be no doubt that phase probably represents the biggest failure in CS:GO history in terms of trying to assemble a team, trying to force a era and success predicated on firepower and financial success to sort of go out and get that firepower. Where they are now, finishing 9th to 12th at tournaments like this, it's like really, really embarrassing. And I'm pretty sure in the back of the mind, if FaZe do indeed give a shit about CS, they're probably thinking like, fuck, man, what could we have had if Nico had sort of gone to MIBR? He would have been sort of there. Because he's a blessing and a curse, right? Because he's a fantastic player. But it is no coincidence that every negative storyline that you can sort of have with FaZe, it always goes, all roads lead to him, right? Kerrigan being removed, him not changing teams, him getting his pick of who he plays with, so he brings in Cold Zero rather than perhaps an in-game leader because he doesn't want to defer.
I mean, the obvious thing, this is where Nico doesn't get Counter-Strike. You know what, Nico? The move wasn't Cold Zero. It was for you to get Alexi B. Use your fucking head. That was the move.
No, but do you want to know what you want to know what's crazy about that? Apparently,
I heard he doesn't want him or something, man. I think he said it in an interview.
No. Yeah, they didn't think he was right.
That guy's unbelievable. What's good is, this is what's funny. In other teams, I always felt sorry for Nico. And I actually do think, by the way, one component of what's fucked him up as a person is that in his formative years as a pro, he was in these bad teams. And so when he was in the bad teams, you just learn, like, can't trust other people. It's like being in prison. Can't trust anyone. Got to watch my back all the time. Got to take care of myself first before I watch out anyone else, you know. Don't help anyone unless they're helping you. Like, always be hostile because they're just going to be hostile to you, right? What problem with that is it builds terrible character traits and habits as a player and a professional.
Sure.
Then you get to the point in this scenario where, right, well, in theory, if any player goes bad or betrays him, he cuts them, right? Well, he's made his own nightmare. He's got a bunch of legends he can't cut. He's got people where, even though his eyes, if you sat him down and took the nameplate off and showed you him all off Meister the last 3 months, he'd go, this player is garbage. Who is he? Fucking Space Soldiers? No, it's your teammate, mate. The guy you would never caught. Because when I put the name all off Meister on, it has a magical effect on your brain and you can't see who he is. Like, that's why in some ways he almost deserves to be in the team he's in now. Because he hasn't learned the lessons of it. He keeps fucking recycling.
And I think he's incapable of learning these lessons because if you haven't learned them by now, when are you going to learn them, right? So I think with Olaf, you know, I'll just say this. As I said at the time, he should have been cut when he had to take that prolonged absence. It's not very compassionate. It's not very sympathetic. You could still keep him on salary. You just move him to sub. You don't have to like cast him out, but you absolutely needed a long-term replacement within the team. And you hamstrung your IGL by not providing that. And then you allow the star player to, you know, you wouldn't have needed to even discuss selling Nico because you would have had a long-term solution to a problem that is persisted in FaZe, and that is that Olaf Meister. He needs to get out that team, and he needs to go and play in the Swedish lineup again. He needs to reinvent himself. You know, he honestly needs that. It's like, I know you're getting a massive paycheck and you have all that status, but I think if you were to sit Olaf down now, and if he's ever up for doing an interview with one of us, he absolutely should, because I'd like to pick his brains about it.
Sure, yeah.
I think he would admit that, he's stagnated as a player. He's still got fantastic potential. He's still got great game sense. He's still unbelievably experienced. His aim's ailing, but like you can make up for that in other ways. So that's not essential. You know, think about how Taz was like still a relevant player. But the reality is he's not doing any of those things, and I don't think he can do any of those things in FaZe. At the end of the day, Nico has one fucking style, you know, one IGL style. And Olaf's not going to be nourished in the way a veteran player that's on hard times needs to be. Meanwhile, you go look over at what Kerrigan's doing with young players and how he like took Rops and like lifted him out of the doldrums of 1 year of terrible form to MVP levels of performance here. And obviously, all the players that work under Kerrigan deserve credit, but it's no coincidence Kerrigan keeps doing this, guys.
I always tell people
it's no coincidence.
When people play under Kerrigan, they have to that point in their career their peak. Now listen, I had to say that let's line now because I can't say that obviously about like Device and then they've since had better peaks, but at the time they've never been as good as when they play under Kerrigan. Now that tells you something. Meanwhile, what happens when you play under Nico? You get worse and he just stays really good. Like I'm not hating on him individually as a player, but as an IGL, I hate him as an IGL. It fucking kills me.
Yeah, and obviously as well, nobody could have foresaw Glaive being as good as he was. We all knew he was a good in-game leader, but we also knew he was prone to petulance and childishness. You know,
that was a gamble.
Yeah, he reinvented himself as a human being on like a fundamental level. Very rarely do you see that. You know, this was a guy, we all remember the debacle with the girlfriend on stage and him delaying a fucking final because, you know, and basically when he said he had a prolonged period in hospital due to poor health, that's when he really reflected on his shit. Now, you know, if he doesn't get sick, if he doesn't have like a collapsed lung followed by another collapsed lung and he's in hospital literally fighting for his life, if that doesn't happen to him, he doesn't reflect on what he needs to do to cement his legacy. We don't get the Astralis era. Because remember where they were. They were a team that choked in quarterfinals and semifinals and had big players that went missing and always flirted with greatness and had an amazing core, but never quite sustained it. When Glaive came in, he did take them to the next level, but nobody could have predicted that. And Kerrigan had got them 90% of the way there anyway. Like, yes. I mean, everybody would say that. So when you compare that to what's going on in fucking, you know, FaZe, and again, like, I've got to bring it up as well, like, Yanko, like, when's he gonna fuck off? Like,
when's enough?
Yeah, like he's got to get out, man. Like this, he has had 2 coaching appointments that really are hurting his long-term reputation as a coach. And I believe in him as a coach, but I think he took the 2 most ridiculous appointments you could possibly do if you wanted to, like, fuck yourself right at the start. Like, he's not like some peacemaker, dude. Like, I legit think he's a great strategist, a great motivator, but look what he's had to work with. He's had to work with some players that are either super knowledgeable and therefore are never going to acquiesce to a coach, or super egotistical and therefore, and sometimes both, and think that their game is beyond reproach and beyond criticism. No coach can do anything with that. You know, and it's not like he gets to break apart the team. He's not making that level of call over there. So he should quit and go do something else with somebody else, for my opinion. But,
like my whole feeling on FaZe is like, this is, you know what on these shows, one of the things people don't understand about being a pundit, because I'll just say that again, and maybe I'm going to reveal a magic trick to everyone, like the fucking guy behind the curtain on the Wizard of Oz, and you're going to learn how this actually works. I did, as Richard alluded to earlier, I did a League of Legends talk show called Listen Local with a former pro and coach called Loco Doco. And by the way, that show used to do gangbusters numbers, maybe like 5 times more than shows where I actually have the most knowledgeable people about all of League of Legends. And the reason why is the most knowledgeable people almost never are that interesting on camera. Like, you might say you love space. You're not going to go to a fucking lecture of some like really boring professor. You're going to watch like fucking like the most TV version cunt like Neil deGrasse Tyson or Brian Cox tell you like the universe, and it's all about just the graphics, and so you're not really following along and hearing it. You're just hearing fucking numbers, and you're tuning it all out and thinking, right, bloody brilliant, isn't it? Like, you're not really following it. So when you actually watch these shows, it's beyond stupid to comment on like, you know, they didn't even share anything new. It's like, yeah, we're pundits. Like, what we have to do is go, well, The Browns lost that last game. Here's my take on it. Here's my new slight update take, and here's what I think for the next one. And if that means that a team like the Browns in this case loses a lot, then it's going to seem boring on the segment that's about the Browns, isn't it? So what normally I'll put that out there, that's part of being a pundit, is being able to sell fucking old rope for new money, basically, over and over again.
Yeah, of course.
Put a twist on it. But what I'll say is this. FaZe is the only team I actually fucking dread talking about, because my take on FaZe is simple. I'm bored of it. It's fucking bored. And by the way, if you know Counter-Strike, I don't get bored. I would watch this Astralis, this Team Liquid, play each other 100 times. That's how good I think some of those games are. I never get bored of that. I'm never a guy. You notice I always battle against the whole like oversaturation angle, because to me, there's never too much. I love Counter-Strike. I'm so fucking bored with FaZe Clan, because it's just like watching a car that's got a fucking, like, it's got like amazing like suspension, the tires, got in theory like a fucking god tier engine, everything. And it's got the shittest driver in the world. Why the fuck would I watch a race with that and cheer for that car? I wouldn't, would I? It's garbage. Like, at this point, you should have done this a long time ago. With all that money and salary, you should have wiped the deck clean and started over. You could have had your own mouse with better players by now. It wouldn't even have to necessarily be Kerrigan. Bring in someone else. You could have done it. This OG team could have been yours with Nico instead of one of those cunts. Like, what the fuck is this FaZe Clan? This is a joke, boys. You don't even, because of the fact that people like Nico and fucking Coldzera are so incredibly uptight as people. You don't even get the drama you get in COD or any of the cool vlogs. No. These motherfuckers would cry if they started actually having to like address some drama. Like, they want to keep it all under wraps. So what's crazy is, like you said there, like, what is Yanko doing at this point in time? It's like, mate, you're just fucking arranging deck chairs on the Titanic. This is a joke. How can you? What I don't get is, I know deep down, especially Nico, in his own fucked up way, really wants to win. He really does. That's part of what makes him the person he is. It's just he doesn't get that. It just manifests in the worst possible ways.
Yeah, you're right. I think like there's this thing where people wanting to win and trying to do everything you can to win is not the same as understanding what you need to do to win and putting your energy into that. And as I said, I think Nico wants to win, but only on his terms, because he believes that is the absolute correct way.
This is where, by the way, this is one area where, like, you see survivorship bias, right? Which is whenever anyone makes it. So I'll give you a great example. I famously said that I didn't think Stewie2K would make it. A random pog star jumping through smokes. Like, I didn't think that I'd make it at the pro level play. I thought people would exploit it all the time. Now, here's the thing. When he makes it and he wins a major and he wins over $1 million and he gives in a Team Liquid run of form, he can then say to me, ha, see, Thorin, I proved you all wrong. The problem with that is that only works when you actually make it. If you just literally keep saying, well, everyone else is wrong, everything they're saying is wrong, it's us against the world, boys. But like, it just happens forever and you never win. You know what? Eventually they were right. Like, you have to actually be the one who gives it up and says, you know what, guys, I was fucking wrong on this one, which doesn't look like it's ever going to happen with this FaZe call.
Nah, probably not, unfortunately. And then when we go from one team that sort of is stagnating before our eyes, I guess we now have to talk about a team that took a big gamble, but realistically doesn't look to be paying off. By the way, there is. Sorry, I shouldn't do this. You can cut it out of the VOD if you want, Sam. I just fucking honestly, sucks Germany. Have you never heard of the phrase rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic? Like, what a very common idiom. Have you really not heard that?
It's actually a cliche, even I know.
Yeah, a cliche, some would say. And you are aware that if you were to go and look at a historical photo, they indeed did have deck chairs on the Titanic. In fact, the term deck chair comes from the deck. Do you see? So you cannot grasp that, even that concept. Like, I don't understand why people like you come and watch shows like this, because it must 99% of what we say must sail over your fucking swollen head. Like, what enjoyment do you get out of this? Just explain it to me if you want. In fact, no, don't, because I'm not interested in getting a win.
Classics.
So just get the fuck out of my fucking channel. Like, seriously, don't follow my work. It's not. This isn't for you. This is for people that like don't type things. Like, he literally typed and he typed Titanic, high class ship, deck chairs, laughing my ass off. Like, it was just a cavalcade of ideas just blowing his mind all at once. Like, just fuck me. Like, Moron.
What do you think they did? Just stay in the fucking cabin all day? What are you on about?
Mate, what, in a foldable chair on a boat? This is lol. Like, fuck me. Like, what? Who are these freaks? Anyway, so I'll do the setup again for you, Sam, for when you edit this.
You should do best of Richard turns on Twitch chat during by the number. There's
Hang on, it's just a fucking dollar in the chat.
It just triggers me because I always have the chat up there in case like I'm misremember a small detail because that people seize upon that. So it's nice to get like in real time corrections. There is something to be said about the wisdom of crowds in that sense, but in general, like you just see something so stupefyingly ill-informed or dumb that it throws me out of the moment. Like,
I just realised I was actually
outside the Twitch chat.
I was thinking the whole time, what team is he going with here? Like, did it change? It was a gamble. I thought it was going to be Navi. I've realised it's obviously G2, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll do the setup again. So we go from talking about one team that's stagnating, if anything, to another team that's took a huge gamble that doesn't look to be paying off and is reaping similar dividends. And that's, of course, G2. You know, we said we were potentially excited by this lineup when they brought in the 2 Serbian players, but they have remained very underwhelming and incredibly inconsistent since this lineup's been put together. Just to give you a rundown on how they performed here, they had a laborious victory over Sharks on Inferno, 16-13 in the best of 1 stage. They then went and played Astralis, it was, in a best of 3. They could have conceivably won that. It was one of the closest series.
Probably should have.
Tournament.
Where that game went. I think Astralis just did like the old classic, like veteran pull out the win out of nowhere out your ass.
And incredibly, like Kenny S was just
like in God tier form.
Yeah, that was God tier performance by him. So everyone's feeling super excited. They get drawn in the next round against the South African minnows of ATK, and they lose that 2-1. And they lose that 2-1 in on the last map, Inferno, this map that they've already won and been competitive. Yeah, it was embarrassingly one-sided. So they crash out the tournament in the similar position to the teams that we're talking about. So we did say last week if they had another underwhelming performance, we'd go in on them. What the fuck is going on here? Who is to blame? Who is to blame for these lackluster performances from a team that now has no excuses?
Well, I mean, first of all, I've got to say one angle is when you brought in Nexa, he was supposed to be the IGL, right? He's supposed to turn the team around in that sense. I don't necessarily look at this team and know that as an IGL, he does a good job. I think as a player, he's a good player. I don't really know that he's brought much in that sense. And then I know in this series in particular, ever since the Shocks era moved on, I used to think Amanek was a pretty good player in the lineup they had before. In this lineup, he just looks bad, to be honest. And that's the whole point. Basically, like you were saying about the Astralis series, when you have Kenny S literally roll back the clock to 2015 and just go God mode on everyone, and you still narrowly get edged when basically Astralis was right there in your fucking palm to take the win. And then, like you're saying, it's one thing if that happens, it's like, right, it doesn't matter. You know, we go on an epic run. Like, for example, Mousesports lost narrowly to Team Liquid, but then came back and won the tournament. Right? If that's the start of something big, great. But then you go down there, and there's no universe you should ever be able to lose a best of 3 to the ATK team. You've literally just tricked Cloud9 into fucking buying this team because you lost that series. You selfish fucking cunts. I know they beat you when they won that major, but you don't have to ruin every lineup they ever have. No, but jokes aside, they almost have. Like, that's the problem. I look at that and I go, Jesus, Cloud9. Ask me before then, boys, because that wasn't your team winning that. That was fucking G2 pissing that game away. That's the problem. I think this is an example of a team where Amanek himself looked bad, but aside from that, most of them look like competent players. They look all like players that can be in the top 10, but the mix isn't very good. They only have a couple of maps they're even vaguely reliable on. Dust 2 and Inferno, basically, which, by the way, everyone fucking plays. Like, Evil Geniuses find out how hard it is to play that against every single team and hope you're going to always win. So I would just say, everything about it, unfortunately, has failed. Like, a lot of the things that we were excusing before was like, I see something there, but maybe if they go somewhere, I'm with you. It's been enough events now. Come on. Like, I've seen enough. I've seen definitely enough play. I've seen all of you have your chances. This experiment has failed. The only problem I have is I have no idea what direction you go. Like, do you go more national now and say, fuck Amanek and go international? That could be a move. Do you go back the French way? Because that's an incredibly tormenting path to go down right now, where I don't really know where you're going to get talent. Like, yeah, I feel like they're still in a tough spot. So that's why I'll never blame them for taking the chance. The chance looked like it had a shot. It's just it hasn't worked. Let's be real. Like, what's going to change? Because for anyone who doesn't know, by the way, and we'll get to it later, but one of the very interesting details I found out before the CSGO Asia Championship, I believe it was, the tournament that Mouse first won, was that Kerrigan had actually swapped up some of the roles and spots on the map, especially on CT side. And that was basically the tweak he needed to take his team from almost winning big games to winning the big games. The problem is, who's going to do that in this team? Who's going to make the moves? Like, that's where these genius in-game leaders are worth their weight in gold. They can actually do the impossible. Like, you're not even supposed to make your team that good after that long together. This team, I know it sounds like it hasn't been together a long time. It's had enough tournaments, mate. Like, if I had to look, what have they played? They must have played quite a few lands.
Yeah, I mean, I can only think, okay, so if I was tinkering with this team right now, this is a move I'd probably be tempted to do. I think, I guess I have a tendency to lay a lot of the blame at in-game leaders' feet when things are going bad. And I think that should almost be the first port of call in a lot of ways, because if you look at a team that has all of the pieces, then you have to say, why are these pieces not being activated? Yes, individuals have to perform, but ultimately good IGLs know where to put players so they can have that chance to perform. So for me, I think Amanek's got to go, because he doesn't really put up the numbers and isn't a great player in his own right. He's proven he's not a tactical mastermind. He's not a wizard here. He's got these two players. I almost kind of feel there's a lackadaisical approach. Maybe he didn't want these players. Maybe this was an Ocelot decision, and Amanek is finding it difficult. Maybe they're communicating in English, you know, and that's throwing him off. Who knows? I don't know the ins and outs. I just know it isn't working. What I would do is I would cut Amanek. I would put Nexa in as IGL. And then I think you've got a choice. If you still want to go French for whatever reason, Kiyoshima's out there, man. Like, he can come back into the fold. I don't think Kenny S gives a fuck about anything.
I think he's desperate enough now as well. Come on, like, you've got to give him a chance at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I think he could be a solid kind of middle of the pack player. I think by doing that, you also have Nexa, who was IGL, would look to activate Hunter. Hunter's been a little bit underwhelming considering how good he was coming into this lineup.
He definitely has potential, though. I'm down to keep him. That's why I say I wouldn't mind going international. I keep him and Kenny S 100%.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, what you need is you need an IGL who already understood how to get the best out of Hunter and knows what positions he likes and, you know, what kind of tactics to basically play to his strengths, right? Nexa is that guy. He's proven that because he's done that. And I think if you put Keo in there as, like, say, a middle of the pack anchor, then you're only really asking about Jax. And I'll say this, despite my harsh original assessment that at 27, getting your first sort of call up to the bigs isn't going to work out, Jax has really done nothing wrong here. At times, he's been the best player on the roster. That was true back when they still had Shocks. So it would be, you can't look to cut Jax because he's done everything and more that's been asked of him. And he definitely deserves an opportunity to play under another in-game leader. But absolutely, he would be the next on the chopping block because that would just be the position you would look to upgrade, especially if you brought Keo into the lineup. Now, that might, I don't know if there's anybody else you could look at there. Maybe there's another Serbian player. Maybe they'd even think about, you know, going and getting Esperanto.
There we go. I was thinking of that immediately with these players that have played with him.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's another possibility. I think Esperanto definitely is.
Worth a crack.
Yeah, he's got the firepower. I worry about his attitude. But then again, having worked with Nexa and Hunter, you know, I could just see him and Kenny S maybe clashing a little bit. I think Esperanto's ego does get the better of him at times. But whatever. But that's another move. But there are now where the window is rapidly closing on what kind of big changes and alterations you can make. And that was always the risk when you made this bold decision to bring Nexa and Hunter in. But I have to think there was a little bit of method to the madness when Ocelot took Nexa in, because this was a fragging IGL. And I think by bringing him in, what you're essentially saying to Amanek is, you're on borrowed time to make this work. Yeah, so it does kind of feel that he will be out the door soon if they can't get their shit together. I don't know how long Carlos wants to work with that, but I can't imagine Jackson Kenny S are fucking thinking it's definitely worth keeping this guy around. All the IGLs they've played with. So, and how he doesn't measure up. So G2, it hasn't worked in the short term, and I don't think it can work in the long term. There's no evidence to suggest that. I really think they have got to make a change again. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
No. I mean, they've just been a very underwhelming team. Like, I've watched them a whole bunch, and like the amount of times they would give you one really good map, you're like, oh, potentially, and they'd be shit on the next, completely garbage. And the amount of times they've rolled out a tournament super early is absolutely pathetic. Even in light of the whole gamble aspect.
And obviously, yet I know they can't make a move before the major, so but I think, although we have seen teams,
the major's ages away though.
Yeah.
But remember, everyone's forgetting the major's in like May.
Yeah, but obviously they would lose the spot if they change the players, right? They got to have the 3.
Oh, right, yeah. Who gives a fuck about that? The spot at the moment, you're never going to make top 8 with this team, so fucking go ahead and kick that out and go through the minor. You're just going to have to. Suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up. It's been done before. Okay, let's start kicking on up the kind of rankings here. Liquid, always worth talking about. Very interesting tournament run from them. Kind of saw the good and the bad again.
Yes.
From Team Liquid, off to a solid start. They beat North, no problem. Great win over Mousesports, 2-1, especially within the context of them winning the tournament, including a fucking epic Dust 2 map that was fucking really, really good to watch. And, if Kerrigan wasn't Kerrigan and Mousesports weren't Mousesports, that would have just broken most teams because it was there in the palm of their hand and Liquid just came up big right at the moment they needed to. Then the Astralis series, man, what a fucking great series. 2 brilliant maps in this, sandwiched with Nuke in the middle. But as we talked about again, it was deja vu, wasn't it? It was like Liquid off to the start, they give up Nuke, and then we get this Dust 2 decider, and again Astralis edge it. But don't worry, it's not over. You're going up against Fnatic, I think an eminently winnable game.
Their side of the bracket looked great.
Yeah, Fnatic made them look absolutely ordinary, and we'll definitely talk more about him when we get to Fnatic. But and Brolin fucking schooled these guys. So very, very. I don't want to say it, but like Nitro's been a little bit off in these must-win games. The last couple, he crumbled against Astralis. He definitely crumbled here against Fnatic. I think he only got 20 kills across 2 maps, which when you consider sure he's an IGL, but he's also open for the team. Not great. Fnatic just really had the measure of them. Like Liquid were never really in the series. They never got going, and they looked once again to have that kind of like psychological problem. Right, we've lost the map. The pressure's on. Our overpass really sucks right now when we were fucking great on this map not that long ago. Don't worry, guys. We're going into Inferno, our pick, and you get fucking schooled. Like, Liquid are really starting to live up to this narrative about having this mental block for me, and I don't know how you fix that.
Well, one of the problems is, as you say, if you go watch the Mousesports series, you watch the Astralis series, that's Liquid who looks like something close to the team that was in the summer. Let's say like 85%, sometimes 90% on the right map. Looks awesome. They're still obviously in with a chance, you think, to win these tournaments. But the reason they don't win these tournaments, you can even just go and look at the stats, is when they were banging everyone out, the 3 big fraggers were obviously Elige, Twists, and Naf, and they were all going to deliver, if not always at the same map. The idea was 2 of the 3 always turn up, so you always have a chance, right? And then the job of people like Stewie and Nitro was do your specific roles, be the IGL and the off-hopper, and be the entry guy, right? Well, first of all, Twist's numbers have gone way down, but in a very interesting way. He actually averages very few deaths, but he just doesn't kill at a high level. Like, he actually kills at a level of a player way below his status. And the problem is, every now and then he'll still have one map where he drops 30. And so fans go, that's fine. He's just up and down. It's like at the moment, he's more down than up. But I'll say, because he's not dying often, that makes me feel like he's being misused in the team or something, or his role doesn't fit his current personality. And then the other guy I've got to call out, because this is one of the areas I hate people in Counter-Strike. I hate the idea people have the balls to call other players out, and then they won't call out their boy. So I'll just go ahead and say a name right now. So Launders loved when Stewie was winning the major, when he was in the good team Liquid, to talk him up as potentially the best NA player, even though he was actually doing in Team Liquid what you'd expect. He was the entry guy, but he wasn't never the MVP player. But he'd always use that angle of it. Yeah, but he's the one that made the team work, and he's the one that like took them to another level. And it's like, right, where's all your call-outs the last 2 months, mate? Because that guy has literally been feeding his fucking arse off in the game. Now, I don't have a problem with him as a person. People maybe know we patched all that up, but I have to call out bad performance in the game, because my biggest problem is this. The twists angle, like I said, I'd really need to study that massively in depth to get a sense of like, how does he not die, but he's not getting any kills with such a mad skill level? The Stewie angle, I've seen it in the games. It happens in all the big games. What happens is when he gets into a position where he's just not hitting his shots or he's not getting favorable entries, he does the classic problem that happens with good entry fraggers. You just keep running into the brick wall over and over again. And so you'll see him like panic buy AWPs. Just he tries to do too much. He basically, it feels like he knows he's having a shit game. He knows someone's going to turn it around and the team's all slowing down and we're going to lose. So then he grasps for too much. Whereas sometimes in that scenario, you almost have to play a little bit more measured and go, right, I have to be a little bit safer or just look for my moments. Whereas I've seen him, especially with the AWP, do some ridiculous peaks and flicks that like would never hit. Like even on your best day, you wouldn't hit some of those mates. So unfortunately in that scenario, I admire the intention. I think there's a positive aspect behind it, but I don't know if he's burned out as a player at the moment, where he's at. But those two players, to me, they're just nowhere near what they were in the summer. Like Stewie didn't need the numbers, but his impact was massive. Twists had the numbers. And then I also agree, Nitro's had some absolute nightmares in like big matches where, you know, that's where if he wins, he gets that moniker Captain America. It's a sick fucking nickname, by the way. So yeah, I think he didn't deserve it if he wins them, you know.
Yeah, so this is the thing. I'll agree with you in terms of kind of deliverables performance for Stewie. But the one thing I have noticed, I don't know if you've picked up on this, is when these games start to be slipping away from them, like Stewie's the only one that seems animated.
No, I agree. That's why I say the intention, I think, is right. The rest of them do get in that funk. They go back to 2018 and start getting bend over for fucking Astralis, don't they?
Yeah, whereas Stewie, you can see he's animated, he's angry, and he tries to make plays. I think what's hurting him at the moment, honestly, is I think in his mind, and again, I'm saying this apropos of nothing. Again, this is punditry at its finest. But I think in his mind, he kind of feels pressure to make plays.
Yeah.
And he starts trying to do that, and you start seeing, you know, the smoke criminal come back. You start seeing him do these things that, unfortunately, a well-drilled Fnatic, a well-drilled Astralis, a well-drilled
They're loving that. They're waiting for you to come through that
smoke. Exactly. They've got that in their back pocket. Like, if Stewie starts doing this, we've got the counters. We know exactly what's going to happen. It's very hard to take over a good game with great teams by creating chaos, which, of course, when you play weaker oppositions, that's how you break them. You fuck them. They can't get a read on you, and they need to get a read on you because individually they're not good enough to beat you on that basis. They're the games Stewie thrives in. And I think he's under immense pressure right now because, listen, I think Twists has had some health problems. Like, you can't ignore his dip in performance either. And it's not a popular thing to say because obviously he's a nice kid. And he's had some health issues, but again, numbers don't lie. And as I said, like when your IGL goes missing in big games, there's a little bit of an emo air around the team, like when they feel a bit put upon. I also feel there can certainly be, like, their schedule's been insane.
That's true.
I'll
here's
add
the
that.
thing. I do want to say as a caveat, normally when a team drops off like this, you can usually find something to blame everyone for. I don't have any blame whatsoever for Elysian Nav. These guys are fucking studs. And they are sometimes hard carrying Team Liquid through some of these maps and situations. Like, I actually think they're still playing great Counter-Strike. And the stupid thing about this scenario is we all know it's like an NA super team. So it's not like I think these players are done. Like, mate, if tomorrow, for some reason, Stewie 2K transfers to a different team and he has a different role and more like agency, he'd probably be right back to his old self, probably being a sick player. But in this particular situation, something's off with the mix. And it's not even that much because, like we say, even so, they're still taking these good teams really close. They didn't beat Mousesports. It's just that they can also have a day like they had against Fnatic where it's like they just wake up and get their shit pushed in. And that never could have happened. Remember, they won 22 series in a row. That couldn't happen. The best you could do is go to 3 maps and hope to beat them. You weren't going to fucking 2-0 them and spank them on their map pick.
Yeah, and like I say, I think because I've said like in the not too distant past, like I think if you stick with his team, it works. I think somebody in the chat used the example, you know, the shooter's mentality for Stewie. You shoot yourself out of a slump, which obviously is a basketball fan. You know, you're familiar with that idiom, but for me, I kind of feel like I think the whole team can do that. But there's something off mentally about this team. I don't know if they're drained. Like, let's be real. You know, I know everyone goes lol excuses. Everyone's going through the same thing. Their schedule was ridiculous. They had that fucking stupid issue coming out of ECS, and then when they touched down in for this, apparently, like on day one, they didn't have their luggage and shit. Like, these things will fucking wear you down. And I think they still got one more event. They're off to fucking Bahrain.
You know, I hadn't even thought of that angle, and that is such a fucking bad look for EPL, considering it was a great tournament. Right, the top 4 at ECS, everyone, was the top 4 in the world. It was Astralis, Team Liquid, Evil Geniuses, Fnatic.
Yeah.
Right, only Fnatic made it to the final of this tournament. Astralis went out at least a round earlier than they usually do. Team Liquid a round earlier than that, and Evil Geniuses also like. That's fucking terrible as a look, guys, because that's the problem. It's like the situation coming out of the player break. If just Team Liquid had fucked up, no problem. But Team Liquid fucked up, Vanguard, fucking Vitality fucked up, and it's like, what's the odds, guys? What are the odds? Come on.
Yeah, but this is the thing as well. Like I brought it up before, and it's like this layering of events and changing of dates, and everyone trying to be the last event in December, and just all this silliness. Definitely hasn't contributed to the players, and unfortunately, these tournaments you can't back out of. It's not as simple as
you need to stay in EPL. They'll kick you out otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. You have contractual obligations you got to meet, and the players have to do it. So I'm going to give Liquid the benefit of the doubt for their sort of bad run, and who knows what will happen in Bahrain. But it's a blast, so I'm not even going to count it if they win.
Here's the thing: they're still a good team. The problem is this. Think about when we've spent the last here's the thing, when FaZe first fell off, they didn't instantly go down to where they are now. They just went to like number 3 or number 4, and they had the outside chance to win a tournament. That's the point though, guys. We're not judging this team the way we were judging the G2 squad earlier. Like, the expectations should be completely different. So with this team, you always have to look at it, especially with these players, and say, what's the change, whether it's a player move or a role change or a map change? What's the one change that puts them back to number 1? Because that's possible. Of course it's possible. It's just at the moment, no one's got the answer. I don't claim to have the answer. Certainly not.
Before we had that player break, if you'd have said that Fnatic adding Golden and Flusher would put this team comfortably above Team Liquid in the rankings,
they've won like one tournament and made 2 more finals. I think Team Liquid's made 1 final since then. That's ridiculous. You would never believe that. You
would never believe it. This is what I mean. The one thing about being a pundit is, like, in Counter-Strike especially, it's fucking insane. Like, the things that happen, no one could predict this shit. Like, it's like you literally just need to be fucking Nostradamus, just pulling shit out of a hat to even be right, it seems, because any sort of insight or knowledge makes no sense. But anyway, I hope Team Liquid keep going. And we'll see how it fucking works out for them. I'm going to skip past talking about EG. I kind of feel it was like sort of a classic EG performance in a lot of ways. But what I do want to talk about is Navi. Probably the best this Navi has looked since bringing Guardian in, which we'll definitely focus on in a second. But just to give you the rundown of how they did it. Comfortable win over Tyloo, 2-0 clean against MIBR. They had the 2-1 over Evil Geniuses, simple fucking teed off, looking great. Maybe he can restore some of that godlike form. Electronic doing what he's got to do, being a good wingman. Guardian, it wasn't even too bad in that series. But EG was just very flat. Couldn't really meet their firepower. And then, 2-1 against Fnatic. Fnatic obviously going on to the final. It was pretty close, 16-14, 16-11, and then Fnatic blew them out on overpass. And we all know why they lost that series. So for me, you've now got a core 4 in this team that seems settled. Like, Boomich is in, everyone's listening. Electronic and Simple are sort of taking turns to top frag. Flamey's looked a lot better since Zeus is gone. But obviously the elephant in the room is like, Guardian's got to fucking go. Like, it's just getting sad right now. And
isn't this crazy? It's so rare, no matter how much of a hot take people want to do. It's so rare you can really say, like, you could almost prove it with a fucking like calculator that like one player is the big anchor that must go. Like, normally it's like, well, who knows the role, the effect this guy's role has, and maybe he sets us. But no, this is just an example because this guy uses the most expensive Guardian relative to reasonable use. He has to go. Like literally almost any just fucking Russian person who doesn't die loads and all need the most expensive gun would make this team literally potential champion. Like they've got all the pieces there. Like you're saying, the rundown from everything else is brilliant relative to their role. It's fucking what you always dreamed of when Simple was in the Zeus teams where it had all those flaws and Edward. But the one problem is the one guy who used to carry Navi is now the fucking anchor. It's crazy. It's one of those, it just shows you how quick esports goes by. It ain't like normal sports guys. This is like someone being the fucking star quarterback and then 2 years later, he's the worst player on your team. Like, that's ridiculous.
Oh, and the level of drop off, if you're talking about quarterback analogies, is like some RG3 shit. Like, it's unreal. Like, he's fucking, he's so out of these big games right now and not hitting shots and not putting up any form of production. And there was a clip, man, where you saw like Simple and that like consoling him after.
Doesn't even seem mentally in it exactly. Like it seems to me like, listen, no, here I obviously love Guardian as a player. I think as a person, he's actually low key, a pretty cool guy. Like he never gets phased.
He's a great dude. Like,
he'll tell you shit behind the scenes. Yeah, but I have to say, this is one of those scenarios where I have to look at Guardian the player. I can't just look at the legend and all this. It's like I have to look at him right now. And right now, it's a fucking bad player. So either get your shit together or it's going to have to be a cop.
Yeah, and I understand. I understand why people fucking want him to do well and everything. I understand why he's sort of clinging on, like, wants to get that major, been in those finals. That shit's gonna haunt you. You want to cement your legacy. You're 30. How much longer can you keep going? But it's just not happening for you right now, and it ain't gonna happen in this team. And it can't be a good feeling knowing you're holding back guys like Electronic, Simple, Boomich, Flamey. Guys like that do need to fuck it. They deserve the trophies in the cabinet. Like, I wouldn't be. I almost wouldn't be as harsh in a way if they hadn't been denied so much by having to play with a Zeus and Edward combo for so long. But
that's not Guardian's fault, but it's just reality.
It's not Guardian's fault, but it's just the reality. These guys have been denied what they were fucking owed because of greedy fucking frauds that just wanted to take a paycheck for as long as fucking possible for their own selfish ends and weren't really thinking about the stuff that was going on around them. Now Guardian comes into that, and you can see Simple, Electronic, all these boys, they love him there as a guy. But man, it must feel rotten when you come off the server after performance like what he put up against Fnatic, where literally, inarguably, he is the sole reason for the loss.
Mate, there's another one of those, like, go back in time moment. Tell me any year, literally, you can take any year, Richard, from the beginning of CSGO to now, to last year. Take me any year, and then you tell me, by the way, a year from now, or 2 years from now, JW is better than Guardian. I'm like, bullshit. That guy was washed up 5 years ago. What are you talking about? Like, it never happened.
No, but this is the insanity right now. Again, it's like you say, they're almost there, Navi. They are almost there. Like, you just add one piece. And with this VP story, which we might have time to get to later on, and it looks like a Vanguard and VP deal is going to happen. Well, now you've missed out on some prime talent. Now you've missed out on potentially Jame or potentially Buster or and Simple moving back to the AWP. I've said this a lot, right? Like when Guardian came in the team. Everyone's like, oh, Simple's gone back to rifle, and that was one of the driving factors. Like, Simple wants to fucking win, and he can use an AWP and he can use a rifle. And if Guardian wasn't in the team, he'll pick the AWP up again and bang motherfuckers' heads off with it. Of course he will. Like, he is the epitome of I will do anything to fucking win. I will. That's all he wants to do. So they can pick up anybody. They can legit. There are so many options.
That's why I say it's just a competent player. That's all you need. Not a good player, just a competent player.
Yeah. It just has to be someone that doesn't deny Simple the AWP and then shits the bed. Yes. That's it. That's the only thing you have to bring to the table here. But overall, look, I'll say this. Because it will end on a positive note. There's still going to be opportunities for Guardian to do shit in the space if he wants. Maybe he can stay on Navi as in some sort of ambassadorial role, maybe a coach. Like, who knows, right? Like, if you want to keep him around the org, you can definitely do that. But what you can't do if you want to win tournaments is have this level of performance. Let's be real. He's never arrived in his second spell at Navi. He's not had one good game. Like, he's had some okay ones, and that's about it. And that's not good enough if you want to go on and win tournaments, especially in the big matches where he's been really, really poor. And especially against Fnatic, it seems, whenever they've played each other, he really seems to have a mental block of beating them. But Navi looked really, really good this time out and could have gone a little bit.
They could have won
further.
this whole tournament, probably.
Yeah, they absolutely could have done it for sure. Right, so let's do Astralis. I kind of feel it's. Do you want to even bother? Actually, I kind of feel it's a bit played out talking about Astralis. Really,
here's the problem. The Astralis one is more like put it this way. When I think back now, especially if you add in there like epically cool series with G2. I think they also felt the fucking strain of the travel as well. Let's be real. Like, look how many close series.
Yeah, you've got to give them credit there. I mean, the other thing I'll say is that I looked at the statistic, and I tweeted it out that since Kerrigan's joined Mousesports, in every best of 3 he's played against his former teams, he's won. He's beat FaZe 3 times, and now he's beat Astralis. And sure, they've only played Astralis once. But out of 4 best of 3s against teams he used to be in IGL up, he's beaten.
Yeah. No, that's actually a classic hallmark of his career. I might have some content on that coming soon. But no, the thing I would say is exactly, aside from the ECS angle, which is what you can use for Astralis, listen, they're still the best team if you looked at how they even played under the fucking trying circumstances. Like, look at what it takes to actually beat them. God take NES isn't enough. Literally, it takes your ex-in-game leader who knows the fucking psychology of 3 of you inside out. Like, come on, man. And you still narrowly only won that. So I actually think the storyline for that series is just the mouse angle, isn't it? It's Kerrigan and his angle.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that Dust 2 comeback is ridiculous because they looked done. They were toasted. What was it? It was like 14-7 or something. It
was a big score, definitely.
Yeah, I think it was like 14-7 at one point. And they like came back and won it like 16-14. 14-8, sorry, 1 round out. So, you know, it was just an insane level of performance from everybody, an insane level of belief. Like the turnaround on Woxic is crazy. You know, he picked up that MVP award and then he came out here. He was fucking monstrous against Astralis. That's not easy to do. Chris J fucking teed off on Dust 2 as well. You know, that say what you want about this team and all of the fucking young talent and Frozen and Rob's coming back and Woxic getting inconsistency. What about fucking Chris J, Mr. Mousesports, pulling out a vintage Dust 2 performance against the best fucking team in the world? Like, what a fucking story that is. This guy is fucking amazing. Just what a legend. And
what's fun is he's going to end up at the end of his career as like one of the great journeymen, actually. Like, look at how his career's gone year by year, practically getting better.
Yeah, it couldn't happen to a nicer dude. He's such a cool guy.
And the irony is, if you're listening, Nico, you used to play with that guy, mate. Do you not understand how, to you, he's nothing because he's below you, but you'll play with a player who's playing worse, who has a bigger name like that? You don't get Counter-Strike, mate. Seriously. You're brilliant with your crosshair and your game sense. Outside of the game, I don't know what fucking sense you're using. Fucking spider sense? What the fuck's going on with you? So I made that negative, even though it's actually a sick part.
Yeah, no, it's good. But look, listen, I'm inclined to agree with you. Astralis came into this with like, you know, similar problems to Liquid, all of the excuses about schedule and everything. Obviously, I know it's a little bit different because they're like kind of the home team, and they get in, you know, a lift from the crowd. Let's say. Well, again, we are going to talk about that. But honestly, this was so fucking insane. The heart that Mousesports showed to kind of beat them and knock them out the tournament. That's what you have to be with Astralis. Like, you've got to match the fucking tenacity and the grit and the balls, because when the chips are down, they don't fucking think like, oh, let's play it safe this round. Okay. No. Like, they make a fucking ballsy call. They're like, okay, look, let's just do a hard rush. Like we've been playing slow. Let's play fast. Let's do something different. They don't give a fuck, like, because they've got nothing to prove. And you have to have that same mentality when you're in the arena with them. And like, who would have thought?
It's what I feel like Team Liquid doesn't have. No, exactly. Yeah. There's the contrast. If you're Team Liquid, if you're Nitro or you're Adren, you need to sit down and look at what the fuck Mousesports did here. Because when your backs are against the wall and you have better players, let's be real, you don't do any of that shit. You do go quietly into the fucking night. And like at the end of the day, you're literally almost like preparing before the end of the game. Like, yeah, this is over. Fuck, like we lost. Like Mousesports, one of the things that's been insane about their run over these last 2 tournaments is they've been right by the brink of elimination again and again, and they just come back. So that shows not just that the IGL's doing a great job, but he's just instilled that in every player. Like, it's possible. Never give up. That's what Team Liquid doesn't have. When Team Liquid's in a tough spot, they don't go, right, Nitro, what we're going to do, mate? How are we going to win this game? They just go, fuck, I guess we just try this again and see if we can go catwalk and get that shit. Didn't work. fuck, I don't know, should we save on this one? No, like Mousesports really believe what's great is, especially after winning this tournament, they actually totally believe that anything's possible. Why wouldn't you? You're basically beating every fucking team in the world at this point.
And it's a shame as well because of the visa issue. They can't play with Waxic at CS Summit, like just completely like a momentum fucker if ever there was one.
Absolutely.
Right? Because they could have realistically gone and won that with him, and obviously with no disrespect to NATO Safix, but just playing with the stand-ins bad in general, especially such a high impactful one. Whereas they could have. They could have won that tournament. I don't think they can now, but maybe they still can. Who fucking knows? If anyone can win with the stand-in, it's fucking Kerrigan, by the way. So, literally, with this win, if he's not considered one of the all-time great in-game leaders from CS:GO, like I don't know who the fuck is.
He's literally won multiple championships with 3 entirely different orgs and 3 entirely different sets of players. Not a single fucking connecting factor. Like, what more do people want?
Yeah,
the guy's a fucking legend, bona fide. This is like a first ballot Hall of Fame level shit. Doesn't matter that he didn't win a major. Here's all you need to know about Kerrigan. Normally, those lists for like best player to never win a major are all-star players who just carried shit teams. He'd be in the top 5 of that list.
Oh,
just of what he's done.
For sure. And who knows what can happen, right? He's not going anywhere anytime soon. And Mousesports, one of the most exciting teams in the world right now. In fact, like we've talked about them and gushed over them. We don't really need to say anything else. But we'll just throw in a brief mention to Fnatic because they've continued to impress since the return of Golden, and I've got to give mad props. Like we've been calling it for a while, talking about how Brolin was the one true Swede, like definitely the chosen one that was going to deliver out of that.
He just wasn't ready at the time.
Yeah, but he was 16.
Yeah, just totally understandable.
Yeah, like just a kid. And we always felt he had the talent and the fucking the game sense and the willingness and the drive, and he's finally delivering on that. And delivering on it in a huge way. Like this tournament from him was immense throughout. Was so good. I mean, like a performance against Mousesports where it was 3-0, but conceivably there's an argument you can make that Brolin was still the best player on the server. I mean, like
he did have that one round that was absolutely absurd on Mirage that people have to go and watch. It's impossible. Yeah. He does this ridiculous ace that shouldn't even be possible.
Yeah, that was the one of the best aces of the year, and in insane circumstances. But at that point, when Mousesports made the final, I think everybody knew, like, okay, this is one of those like hallowed moments of destiny.
No one could have beaten them on that day, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was. I am inevitable, like said Kerrigan. Like it was that's just what was happening. But mad credit to what this Fnatic side has done.
Absolutely.
When you consider, I want to say like 4 or 5 months ago, we're talking about this team being fucking washed up. We're talking about Fnatic just having
I would have bet a lot of money this team could never win a tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we even said up to the point where they brought Golden and Flusher back, like, why you want to roll back the years? Why do you want to even fucking go back to something that you already dismantled once because it didn't work, whether it was due to personality archetypes or whatever. But let me tell you, sometimes it's the hard times that really fucking turn you around. And in the same way we already talked about Glaive laid up in a hospital bed thinking, like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like, if I get another opportunity, both hands wrapped fully around it. Well, this is what's happened with Flusher, out there at Cloud9. Obviously played with these guys before. There was some friction there. Golden, fucked out of the team. I bet all of the fucking players have a renewed appreciation now that he's come back to deliver some system, and not to mention Golden as well. Weird shit going on with his health and in and out of teams. Like, sometimes it's just nice to be in a setting where, listen, guys, all right, we were at each other's throats, but it was like a family, actually. Like, it's no fun playing with strangers. It's no fun playing with strangers when shit ain't working. We're all adults. We all know each other. We all said some shit. We all did some shit. Let's just fucking leave that in the past. Second chance time. And when you add that fucking explosive talent of Brolin, which is finally coming through, Crims remains one of the most consistent players in World Counter-Strike. And like you said, JW's turned his form around because he was washed the fuck up for a while. It's great to see. It's one of those stories which shows sometimes you can go back. Sometimes you can remarry the wife you divorced and have a better time. Sometimes it's rare as fuck, but that's what's happened here with Fnatic, and I think they're a great team to watch, and I think they're going to get better because remember they're getting it done on their CT sides, and their T sides aren't that great. They're going to add to that. The confidence they're going to get out of winning tournaments and making finals. I think watch Fnatic in the first quarter of 2020. I think it could be a repeat of when we went into 2016 and just from nowhere Fnatic just had a mad run of tournaments back with that Dennis lineup that they had. I think Fnatic are gonna improve.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I have to say is like I just did my new edition of the CS:GO World Rankings, and one of the changes I made is even though the top 3 is still ordered the same way off the top of my head, I think it's the same. Like Fnatic was number 3. One of the differences is I do also that like tier thing where I try to like divide up who's like who's an actual championship favorite from who's like just a very good team, and I moved Fnatic this time into that status with. I mean, I know EG seems like a joke now, but they still got the ranking that they have to be there. And Astralis obviously is the event favorite every tournament they go to. Fnatic deserves it. Like I thought with that first Malmo, right, fair enough. What's happened is you've had a brilliant tournament. Everything went well. No one expected it from this new lineup. You've caught a few teams off guard. Then they had the Starland event. They finished second. And, some teams didn't go like Astralis. So I thought, well, there you go, right? That's basically the equivalent to a top 4 or a 56 at a bigger tournament. You've had your drop off. You've come back down to earth. Mate, that wasn't the case at all. Like a bad day for this tournament team literally is a semi-final. And that's losing to the best teams in the world. Like this team is absolutely a very, very good Counter-Strike team right now. I know it doesn't seem like it because they don't have put it this way, no one in their team is really like candidate best player in the world. But that just shows what mad chemistry they've got in this squad. They're actually have an amazingly wide map pool. I see them win on fucking every map. It's outrageous. So I don't know what I'll also say, by the way, I know the coach guy called Samuelson or something, man. I don't know if he's had any impact on this team, if it's just Golden, if it's what, but every single player has somehow turned it around. Like Crims himself was having like a down slump when they were doing shit and getting banged out the major, etc. JW does JW things again. It's like the fit of this team is so crazy. That's one of the reasons I think as well. Every game they have is so exciting when they play the top teams, except when they wreck the Liquid, basically. So this is a team where if you wanted like top 3 teams to win a tournament, they're in it. If you want top 3 teams to watch in the world, they might be number 1. Like they're that good.
Yeah, and listen, just to give a shout out to Flusher, because I know obviously we banged on him on the fucking show a bunch of times. He still remains one of the fucking smartest motherfuckers in the game. Like stuff he's doing.
He's the definition of a wily veteran at this point in time.
Oh man, it's outrageous. Stuff he was doing was shooting the fucking floor and making.
He knows everything about the game, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's mental.
I wouldn't make the obvious joke. Yeah,
yeah. How he acquired that knowledge is another thing.
It's almost like he can read the source code. No, I promise I wouldn't do the jokes. Let's keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going. So that's all of the stories about the results. And again, it was a very good tournament. There's a couple of things that we'll talk about now. We're going to focus on the crowd, and in particular, a moment that happened in the series between Astralis and Mousesports on Overpass. Sam, I don't know if you want to quickly bring up the clip and
it's a pretty quick clip, so people will get.
Yeah, see if you can find it. I probably should have put it in the chat.
Right, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
I got you. Yeah, the two of them been duking it out. He was actually just checking for the little boost on the spool, so he was not ready for this. Or is he? My goodness, how interesting. Zipex through underpass. He's got Glaive in tow as well. And they get the frag! Unbelievable! Astralis. They've got the read. Frozen.
Right, let me just go on this first, because one thing I'm going to say right now is here's how you know how fucked that is, and that's not supposed to happen in Counter-Strike. Because Machine doesn't really think that was a read from Astralis and that Astralis did a good job there. He's thinking in his brain, how do I possibly say that the crowd just literally cheated in the round and told them where they are? He doesn't even address it, because by the way, I get it. It's really awkward. You don't know, fuck, what am I going to step on the toes of the crowd? Do I say something? Is ESL going to... So he's had to play that off. If you were watching and you couldn't hear the crowd sound, you would think Astralis were just such geniuses. They knew the stack was there. They didn't. That's a really sad, that's a bad situation for everyone involved. I even did a tweet when I saw that clip, because I'd watched the match. I got the clip and I just said, this makes me fucking sick, because when I saw that moment, literally, even though, yes, congrats that Mouse still won. They won the tournament. But that round onwards, I couldn't. It took me out of the game. I couldn't see the game as the Counter-Strike anymore. I just saw it as a stupid pantomime, just so fucking 10 people on stage can feel big and inside that someone cheers for them. Like, I don't get it. I hate it so much.
Yeah, listen, so this might be where we have our listen loco moment. I don't know, because I don't know if me and you disagree on soundproof booths, because we've had this conversation so many times, because it's just that debate that comes up annually in the business.
Go on, give me your take.
Right, so my take is this. I think, and I'm going to pass this, we'll get to the Zipnik statement, which, by the way, is one of the most delusional, stupid statements I've ever seen by a professional player. So we'll get to that, in my opinion. But when it comes to soundproof booths, for me, I think that the amount of money you would have to spend, the amount of investment that it's required for such diminishing, negligible returns, realistically, the solution should always lie with crowd control, because
I think we're on the same side then.
Oh, cool. Because, like, listen, I've been in those booths many, many times. I've heard it. I've been in booths when crowds have been cheering. I've been in booths when, people aren't. I know what it's like inside of them. And let me tell you, this goes all the way to TI, which have the most expensive booths in world esports created for them. You can hear vibrations in stadiums. The idea of a soundproof booth doesn't work if it's grounded. They would have to be suspended in midair to stop. This is just the way it works. So you do dampen some sounds. Obviously, that goes without saying. But will it stop crowd influence on certain moments? No, absolutely not. And in fact, almost every pro that's being honest will tell you, yeah, we can still get reads, we can still use tricks, we can still keep our mic open and hear shit even when we're in those booths. And this is from Dota professionals and Counter-Strike professionals and StarCraft professionals. Now, the real reason I think a lot of players want booths is because it creates this nice little bubble that you can sit in, and it emotionally detaches you from what you're doing, and it gives you a mindset advantage. It makes you less nervous. I saw Makaleli do a quote when he was interviewed in 2017 by Red Bull saying, I don't care if there's a crowd there or not. I would play in a booth anyway, because it feels like you're at a boot camp and it calms everybody down. Okay. And I've heard a lot of players say that too down the years when we've been talking about it privately, just shooting the shit. So just to wrap up my thoughts on this, the reality is, as soon as that moment happened in that game, the game should have been paused. There should have been a timeout, and somebody should have come out and warned the crowd. I know Pimp did it in a death segment. It's no good then. Damage is done. They need to be told immediately, if that happens, you're out. No esports company wants to do that because they spend so much time pandering to these fans. They're almost willing to let them subvert the competitive integrity just so they can have the noise and go, look, these are the best fans in the world. Look how great it is. No, that cannot fly. You guys are all in a game of chicken right now, all you TOs, because no one wants to be the first to do it. No one wants to be the first to set the standard. But you absolutely must be. Those fans should have been warned, and if they did it again, they should have been out. Crowd control costs you nothing. It doesn't cost you a dime. You get to keep the experience, and you don't get this stupid argument about, like, how do we essentially defy physics? So for me, the whole, I understand why players are doing it, but the whole soundproof booth thing, it's only an issue. You only need the booths because the crowd are being guns, right? So I don't know if you disagree with that.
One. No, some of it I actually agree with. Here's the thing. My problem is my go-to always feels like booth because I just think of other esports I've seen. So I'll actually disagree with it. I actually think if you get the TI level, and the other example I would give would be like what the Korean leagues tend to have, where they have a booth set up, etc. The difference with these ones, though, as far as I know, and this is something I've looked into a lot this last week for obvious reasons, and I will say I've sort of changed my position on that. And the reason I've changed my position on it is, basically, those two sets of people are cheating. They are not like normal TOs. TI, until this year, was held in the same location every single year. Seattle, in fucking Washington, wherever the fuck it is. I can't remember where that is, what state it's in. And then, obviously, the OGN booths are just in the OGN studio until they move studios. So the key point is no travel costs, essentially. Like, even if you move it in Seattle, you just move it to a fucking warehouse, don't you? The problem is, first of all, the difference between the booth we had at Gfinity and one of those booths can be massively differential. Hence why the one you were in was probably just like a fucking paper, like cardboard almost. Just black. God, it's a real booth, mate. Yeah, the glass and everything. That's just fucking plexiglass.
Mate, it had bubble wrap and everything.
Exactly. You could believe it, right? And the problem is they did that because they wanted to give the illusion of being a professional like MLG while not spending the money. The problem is...
And I haven't been in a TI booth.
No. As far as I can tell, the really, really good ones are amazing. The problem is the cost just to make them is very expensive. And supposedly, I think you saw this on Twitter maybe, between, I can't remember who it was, maybe, I forget who the people are. I'll just leave that out at the moment. Basically, I was told the biggest problem, even aside from cost, is moving it is a nightmare.
Yeah, you have to transport it around the world.
You don't just tell Bill to put it on the back of his wagon and take it. He'll fuck the booth up. You have to essentially... It's almost like trying to move a fucking panda to another part of the world. You have to like take care of it, make sure the situation, the conditions are good. So the costs end up being ridiculous. Where, as you say, it's not like this is happening every map. It's not even happening usually like every series even.
It doesn't happen every tournament.
So the big problem is what those people essentially did was they get the advantage. It's the reason why it's the dirty secret of Korean esports that no fucker tells you. When you do every single match from one studio for 10 years, your production team's going to be sweet as fuck. And they're also going to never miss a beat. They're always going to have all the technical aspects right. Because what changes? No variables. The guys who have to execute esports events. That's why I'm actually in awe of how great ESL is when they go around the world. They're going to a new spot they might have never been before, set up a whole thing to look the same, and then pull off all the production things, hoping that not a single variable is even slightly off. Otherwise, they look like a dickhead, and everyone makes fun of them and makes out like they're shit. So I'm actually with you on the booth angle. I've come back from that because I realize at this point in time, with the current league CS has, it's not comparable. If we were doing LCS, I'd say just build it and swallow the cost and get rid of this. But
and I think I'd be inclined to agree with that because you may as well have one. But then again, the other argument I will add is it undoubtedly detracts from spectacle. It undoubtedly detracts from that moment because when a team wins and they stand up and cheer and the crowd are there and they got that contact, that's a much more powerful moment than them putting their headsets down, walking out of the booth.
What's funny is,
like you see at
like,
TI,
here's the thing.
wins that hands down.
I personally don't care about the players cheering and stuff, but one angle actually that you mentioned there that actually has also changed my mind while we were having this conversation is I've realized that's actually not consistent. The idea of like being able to be in a bubble and be isolated from the crowd environment, that's actually not consistent with one of my philosophies in esports, which is I've always told you, even though it might seem like I get torn up when some of my favorite players, Device, etc., don't win the major and they get wrecked in the semis. You know what? I also love it because I know that for them to ever get over that moment where they're being fucked by the pressure and all the aspects.
Exactly.
That means to get over that, you have to become the greatest player. You have to become one of the best players ever. You have to really do another level mentally. You already had the game. It's the reason why, if anyone wants to know a little secret about why none of us brag about iBuyPower winning 2 ESEA lands over top Europeans way before Cloud9 won a major, it's because they did it at ESEA where there's no stage, you play in a tournament area, there's no crowd, you're essentially just playing at home. It's like a fucking scrim. Like in that scenario, do you want to know what? Yeah, there's been plenty of teams could have beaten the best teams of all times in that scenario, but you put them on a stage and there's a reason why so few teams have ever fluked a major. It's so fucking difficult when you know it's a major, everyone in the crowd knows it's a major, everyone's cheering for the other guy because he's the favorite and you're the fucking shitty little underdog, or the other way around, all the fans are on your side expecting, and if you don't deliver, you've betrayed them all, you tell them all that they what support you, etc. I actually do agree. That angle, I guess I don't want people isolated in that regard, because obviously the other angle you could say is, well, if we're going to remove crowd noise, I'm in a fucking room down the hall, right? Don't even have them near the crowd. But then that would essentially kill that moment as well. And the third angle is this. You've nailed it there. The reason why this has to be possible to solve is because I'm a fan of tennis. And one of the events I like to watch before Grand Slams, well, if you watch the Australian Open, you can imagine Australia is a country that loves to drink alcohol, has some fairly rowdy people that love a bit of banter and to shout stuff out. At the Australian Open, they do not get all their matches ruined by someone purposely fucking with the guy who's about to serve. Because if you do that once, they're fucking amazing. They find you and you are out. And by the way, the crowd will fucking cheer if you get kicked out. Like I was talking about this topic with someone today and saying that what I would even like is I would even love if we had the, first of all, the equivalent of the woman we had at E-League who would come out before every show and say, now listen, guys, we want you to cheer. We want you, remember she used to say the speech, we want you to cheer. We want you to get in the match, but we don't want it to ruin the match for the players by giving them information. So don't shout anything out about the game. Just cheer for your favorite players, because otherwise, if you shout out, we'll have to ask you to leave, basically. Now, the Australian Open obviously has a way bigger level than that. I even think I'd go one step further. Here's the new move when you're first establishing this to really make sure. You say to people, literally at the beginning, listen, this is not a joke. Someone will be kicked out when shouting happens for a round like that. And this is the move I want everyone to do. Everyone in here who cares about Counter-Strike and isn't going to shout something out, when someone shouts them out and we have to pause the game, pause the match for these professionals, bring the house lights up, I want everyone to point at who shouted.
Yeah.
And then they're going to lift, because the idea there is I can't just point at my mate. Everyone's going to point to the person, aren't they? And you're going to be out. And listen, I guarantee if it's ESL, if it's any of the ones that have ever had any baggage in their history, that cunt's going to go on Reddit and he's going to lie.
Yep, already called this. Yeah.
And it's going to be so bad for you, first of all. But I tell you what, I'll be on your fucking side. I'll be riding with you the whole way. And I think the pro players will be too, because I agree. When I think about it now, there is a value to crowd noise. I don't think it's the angle that you get popped up. It's great. I just think I actually like the angle that the crowd can fuck with you. I like the idea that if Mouse wins against the crowd, it's even sicker, isn't it? So, like, I think it's just that third one, you've got to nail it.
Think about that moment with Fallen where he earned the nickname the Librarian. Right?
Moment, yeah.
That's what you do. You shut crowds up by playing. Now, if we have this thing where we're going to say we're all going to play in a hermetically sealed environment, we're losing that. And it's one of the things Counter-Strike has over almost any other esport. I get it in MOBAs. I really do.
You
right?
need
Because
you really
yeah. Listen, I totally get it, because like you can fucking call wards out, for example, which that would destroy potential stuff.
I mean, in Dota, you can go invisible to fucking gank them. So
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I almost understand it more there, right? Like, but in Counter-Strike, all you have to do is not be a cunt. That's it. That's problem solved. Don't be a cunt. Now, with that in mind, I'll bring up this fucking Zipnik's statement, which, again, Reddit morons loved this statement. So this is a brilliant statement. His statement literally concluded, I know that vibrations come through the soundproof booths, but just build better booths, innit? Fucking brilliant. 5-ed. You fucking figured it out, haven't you? Literal 5-ed. No, I like Zipniks, right?
So he says that right after he goes, fucking literal 5. No, I like the guy. I wouldn't actually.
No, I do.
I wouldn't even go up to him, knock on his head.
I really like the guy.
Anyone in there, McFly.
No, but I really do. I think he's a great ambassador.
Yeah, he is. He's awesome.
This statement was dog shit, and he fucking lied to everyone's fucking face and expects you to believe it. And because, unfortunately, Reddit morons, Astralis our best team. He play on best team. He's right about this issue. They literally took a bold, barefaced lie and just swallowed it as being the truth. So let me just read you the statement here, right? Thanks for picking up this important... By the way, it took balls and a spine to make a statement. It's a shame it was dog shit, but good on him for addressing it anyway. Thanks for picking this important issue, which I really agree needs to be addressed. Let me start by making clear that there is a clear difference between, one, the crowd actually giving away a position or other sensitive information, such as shouting A, and two, the crowd getting loud and excited about a play that is about to happen, which was the case with this play. What an absolute objective lie. And do you know how I know it's an objective lie? Because you, Freddy 5-Head, you fucking moved your crosshair back and forth and back and forth.
They had the read.
And back and forth. Yeah, like we were replaying the fucking Sabruder film. So don't fucking tell me, you cunt.
That's so ridiculous.
Right? Don't fucking tell me, you cunt, that it was just they were getting excited by a play. Not only were they not getting excited by a play, they were specifically calling out information. You knew to exploit that, and you did so multiple times. So the start of your statement is absolute bullshit. And let me tell you, first of all, understand a crowd can only get excited by what they're seeing on the big screen, right? So also observers can play a little bit of a responsibility in this, but that's a total separate rabbit hole to go down. But the reality is, first of all, he has started his statement with an appreciable, provable lie. You do not have to scream A to fucking give away information. You just have to react. Now, all the crowd has to do there, just a pregnant pause of expectation, and then huge rapturous applause if they do get it. That's all you have to do.
I gave the reference earlier. When you're watching the Australian Open, Listen, if they hit an amazing shot, you can go, ooh, but even then, if the rally's still going, you keep it low. You wait. That's why they explode when the person wins the point. Because even when they're hitting 10 god tier shots, if you overreact, you'll fuck up the performance. The guys won't be able to do it. You actually, in the end, what you learn is a little bit of short-term restraint gets you a better long-term product. So the fans there, to be fair, the fans there, average age is going to be way higher. So I get it that they're adults.
Yeah.
But that's what, this is also, by the way, a plight of having teenagers be our fucking core audience at the moment.
Yeah, but again, it's just like the idea that he's going to try and sell that was like just a moment of excitement. What, they got excited 4 fucking times?
That was one of the most blatant ones I've ever seen because he used it like
put it this
radar.
way, if you did accidentally cheer the first time he did it, your brain must be telling you, I better not do that again. Like the second time.
You'd feel guilty.
And then you did it again the third time he did it, and then you cheered when he got the fucking kill through.
By the way,
it's unreal. Aside, nobody can excuse that.
For anyone who didn't see this on Twitter, this is a chef's kiss and a half.
Get that gift. Get that gift.
Amazing, right? Yeah. Because there was a clip where back at, I think it was ESL New York, obviously everyone was crying like, oh, bloody Evil Jesus just using the NA crowd to poor Astralis. Yeah. And so this guy says something like, well, you know, every crowd does that. And then this guy from Denmark replies and he goes like, actually, you know, in the Nordic region, you know, and he goes into literally the most like smug fart sucking, goddamn, like self-aggrandization of himself and his people, where he talks about how like they would never cheat that way. And, you know, they have integrity and stuff. Mate, this crowd was worse than most of the NA crowds I've heard of. Like, they only had morons who brought a sign saying A or B. Half the time, they only did the mild crowd radar. This one right here is one of the worst I've ever seen, because that's literally a massive crowd of people who don't give a fuck about the integrity of the game and only want Astralis to win at any costs. I say fuck a crowd like that.
Oh, totally agreed. And listen, this is a point I brought up on a stream the other day. And I'll say it here for posterity. Like, I can't think of an event I've attended where a fan has been thrown out, or if they were asked to leave, they were banned and banned from all subsequent events. An example of that, I think, would be like the DreamHack one in 2015 when people ran on the stage, the drunk German fans in DreamHack Leipzig or whatever, and they bumped into Janko when he was doing the desk, and that fan was like asked to leave and told to sober up, but he was allowed back the next day, I think, which is unreal. You violated security. You would get a lifetime ban from all sporting events in most sports if you did that. But then on top of this, right, the fact that, let's just go over some of the incidents. We've had people holding up signs, right, A and B. We've had people calling out positions. We've had people throwing like fucking Mars bars at broadcasters. Yeah, like at what point is a TO gonna fucking sack up and throw these cunts out? Listen, guys, employ me as your fucking head of security. I'll do it my fucking self. I'll come to an event, fucking stab vest on, fucking full puffer jacket like some cunt doorman from fucking Middlesbrough, and I'll come round and I'll chuck all these cunts out. And I'll relish it, guys. I'll fucking love it like Kevin Keegan. I'll be there. There's a fucking reference no one's gonna get. Right? I'll fucking straight do it. I'll fucking straight do it, mate. I'll straight fucking do it. I won't give a fuck. So if you want to hire me, don't ask if I want to be a horse next time. Ask if I want to be a fucking bouncer, because I'll fucking do it, mate. Because it's ridiculous that these pencil-necked fucking incels are fucking up my game by being cunts. It's ridiculous. And Zipnix has done this mad statement as well. The second thing I don't like about it, the mad pandering it does. Should fans not get excited? You can be excited without giving away information. Like, in a quiet moment in a play, just be quiet. Plenty of time to cheer, right? And then the third thing, his conclusion, as I said, just build better booths. Like, what are we talking about, mate? What are you fucking saying? That's like me saying, like, why haven't we just cured cancer? Why don't we? It's killing people. Why don't we just get a cure?
Just make better cures.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, are you fucking mad? You mad cunt. It's fucking stupid. It's such a stupid conclusion. You have to do things that defy fucking physics. And then, right? Okay, I'm ESL. I pay like, what, $10 million for some soundproof booth over the course of a year because I got to transport it or whatever. And it's the best booth in the fucking business. And it still doesn't stop vibrations because we can't suspend you in midair. We can't do that. But whatever. We've got the booth, right? Then we get one of those dickhead fans holding up signs. Or Scoot's come up with a brilliant one the other day, because I'll tee off on this now. Chants, right? The crowd could collectively just come up with one chant when the bomb's going A and one chant when the bomb's going B. Who's going to figure it out? How long would it take? You'd have to sit down and do some post-match analysis on that, spot the fucking cheats. There could be some secret fan forum that organises that shit. So you have to start with policing the fucking crowd. That's it. That's all there is to it. And let's just throw this out there.
Everyone who's a TO now, write down what he just said there, because Nicola Nyholm's already fired up a fucking
kept really quiet, but I'll tell you something. He went down in my estimation.
So let's also just get to this point, right? ESL, all right? I got accused recently of being a secret employee from some deranged fucking lunatic on Reddit, apparently, because I'm revising my views on, I don't want exclusivity, but I don't want an esports scene with no revenue streams in it. Apparently I'm a shill, so I'm gonna just call you out here, right? Like, and hopefully put it to bed that I'm not actually secretly on your payroll. I love crowd atmosphere, but can you honestly not figure out how to have a crowd mic'd up when it matters and not have a mic'd up when it don't matter? Because let me tell you, unfortunately, there is a lack of self-awareness in the average esports fan that those 10 Astralis fans didn't figure out that you're not just fucking pissing off everyone in the stadium with "Let's go, Astralis, let's go." In a 4-hour fucking series, you only have the one chant, right? You're not just pissing everyone off who's got to sit next to you, right? You're not being a good fan by that. You are being an obnoxious prick, by the way. I've been going to sports events all my life. You would never, ever in a world go to a fucking football game and stand there chanting this. You'd be fucking thrown out, mate. You'd be thrown out. They'd just say, "Oh, he's drunk or something," because he's being a cunt. They'd just throw you out. That would be the end of it. You couldn't annoy everybody like that. But you don't even think about the people at home, which, by the way, that series, one of the most epic series, but when I go back and watch the VODs, man, will I have the sound off. Man, will I have the sound off. You fucked up a historic moment in Counter-Strike by your own selfish, petty need to be front and center of attention. And let me tell you, you got the attention. I'll say now, all of you fucking fans that were doing that obnoxious chant for 4 hours straight and couldn't think of at least one other song to break up the monotony, you're a fucking cunt. To a man, all of you. You fucking ruined a historical fucking moment for a team that wasn't yours. And by the way, I noticed you were fucking deathly quiet when the better team won on the day because you're a glory supporting shitbag. So fuck this. It is getting ridiculous. ESL, get your shit together, because not every dickhead with one song you put a mic in front of them. What is it, X Factor? Fuck this.
You know what? I'm gonna agree with you on that, because here's the thing. Like, especially my boy Carmack at ESL loves to promote the sporting angle. Like, there was even chants breaking out. I've heard him say that about kind of Itza in the past. Like, there was spontaneous chants. It was like being at a football match. As Richard just said, mate, I've been to plenty of football matches, and I've been the ones that actually had real poor people at them. So in theory, esports events aren't paying much money. That's how you know a load of the fans are all 16 to 22, and that like they're all just, half of them are fucking drunk if they're in some of these events. Because if I went to one of those games and started 3-man chanting with my mates, some guy behind me at the fucking Riverside would just go, "Oh, you can't shut up."
Yeah, shut up, sit down.
Shut up, because he probably fucking smashed your head in. It'd be a game over. Or the usher guy would come over and shush you.
Now listen, I'm someone who's on record historically, like, you can say what the fuck you want, you can sing, cheer, you can boo opponents, you can do all this, but you have to understand how obnoxious, right? The human brain is designed to recoil against repetition. Have you ever noticed that? So I'll try and explain this very basic concept. We're not designed to do repetitive tasks. Boredom is a thing because of that. It's why having the same sexual partner, you start, a bit of strange, you'd be fucking wicked, wouldn't it? Right? Like, you can't help yourself.
It's the reason
on
why.
all fundamental levels. Even something as good as getting fucked.
Think about this.
Gets boring after a while.
It's literally the reason why Western civilization basically runs on fucking sugar and caffeine, and then now kids are all getting prescribed Adderall up their arse. Like, what do you expect? No one likes to just do fucking boring tasks like a robot.
Right? So you cannot fucking do it. And then, what's one surefire way to fucking annoy somebody in an argument? You just take one phrase and you just repeat it. You ever seen kids do that? Yeah, I know, but what are you? Yeah, I know I am, but what are you? Yeah, I know you are, but what are you? Whatever. They fucking just jabber on like fucking Starscream in fucking Transformers. The Megatron goes, "Fuck this!" Fucking gives him the big elbow or the fucking skull, because it breaks you psychologically. So what, like, torture technique. torture technique. What, right? They fucking, you ever heard of water torture? Lying down, drip a fucking drop on your fucking forehead. Effectively. So
you ever heard of water torture, mate?
You ever heard of this? Have you not heard of this? Do you not understand? Fucking repetition is... Yeah, like, but serious now, right? Those motherfuckers in Guantanamo Bay were watching that fucking ESL thing. Oh, man, that was bad. At least they only force-fed me a Quran and played Metallica at me at fucking 4 a.m.
They've started feeding dense crowds into the fucking Guantanamo
No, like,
Bay.
legit, those 10 cunts. I bet the CIA called them up now. You guys are really onto something with this. Let's go, Astralis. Let's go. Can we bring you into the fucking... We got a terrorist we need to fucking break.
Tell you where all the bombs are. Help,
yeah. God, no. I don't even know what Astralis are. We did it. Just fucking stop it, guys. Like, just have a bit of fucking self-awareness. Right, I'm done with that. Fuck that material. Timestamp it all. That's coming soon to my Broadway show. Richard Lewis hates the fans.
Guantanamo.
Yeah, Guantanamo Bay. Could it have been worse? Astralis think yes. Like, I'm just so fucking tapped out with it. And again, it's this culture of pandering to the fans. Those guys should have been fucking told. You also can just go up to someone and go, can you just dial it down a little bit? Like, we love that you're enthusiastic. We love that you're cheering. But you are just doing the same chant. And there's hundreds of thousands of people at home that are not having a good time because of you. So just vary it up a little bit. Maybe don't say, let's go, Astralis, let's go for 30 minutes. Can we try that, right? And you cannot just constantly stick a camera in front of these fucking mugs because they can't help themselves. They can't help themselves.
Oh, I know.
It's all about me.
There's
Fuck
another
you.
I will say, to be fair, like that was definitely one of the worst crowds. But even at ECS, the event right before that, there was times where I almost had to mute it. Like people just going like, what is this? Like, why the fuck would I want to hear that while I'm playing Counter-Strike? Like, remember, this is the thing I hate about that angle I told you of the Carmack angle. Well, look, it's like a sports event. Yeah, but here's the thing, mate. The millions and millions of people aren't at the event. Like, we're not all drunk having a buzzed fucking atmosphere. We're at home trying to watch a really great match. Like, I can't appreciate what's going on there unless it's just background noise. If it's background noise, it's cool. If it's just like, oh, look, the crowd cheers. That's great. When it's specific, like you're saying, it's shit. So I'll actually say this as well. Here's another angle that you could actually do. I know it'd be hard to coordinate, but this is when you'll know esports has grown up. Because in Korea and in traditional football, they've solved this problem, which is, I don't want to ruin the moment for you all, but guess what? The Liverpool fans, half of them fucking couldn't figure out how to get a top off a bottle of Coke, mate. They're not all just spontaneously thinking of wicked songs. There are certain people whose literal job, not literally like their profession, but their job at the game is they lead the chants. In some of them, they even have a fucking drum or whatever. And what they do is, it's like military action. They start a chant off, and what they do is they cycle through them. They don't just do the same chant over and over again. And I can tell you, in South Korea, this is what's done. All the female fans who go, because they support them like you would a pop idol, they just learn, like, right, if I'm in this group, we meet before the game, and then I see who the leader is, and the person at the front section just starts to chant off, like, let's all cheer the SKT, whatever. And then you do it like that. So in the future, I hope when esports matures, we'll have something equivalent to that. Like, if it's a game that's in Denmark, Astralis has a fan club leader who's like, right, everyone, we're gonna listen to the guy when he leads the chant, or whatever. Like, that would actually be a real thing.
Think about Cologne. Just think about Cologne. What a wicked atmosphere. No one complained once. The crowd was fucking electric. It's like, I don't know if there's just some sort of common, like, maybe it was because this crowd was smaller, right? So, it's easier to be disruptive in a smaller crowd. But, like, fuck those 10 Astralis fans, man. For real. Like, fuck them forever. Fuck them forever. I want one of them to put a post up on Reddit just fucking apologizing to me. Just apologize to me for having to listen to your shit chant for fucking 4 hours in one of the best series of the year, you fucking plums. It's ridiculous, mate. But again, like I say, just surely we have the tech now. You can just fucking dial that. All right, let's go Astralis again. Just dial it down.
If you're the producer, have a bit of self-awareness on that one, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just turn them off. Right. Let's do some quick roster hits. What have we got going on? I think the one I wanted to talk about was obviously this Gen.G whole lineup. Now, I know I'm going to gloss over because, again, Reddit are fucking idiots. This Gen.G lineup sort of come out, and they lost to a sort of pickup team I think it was the Katowice qualifiers. They lost to the team that had like Sabrosa on and whatnot, and everyone was, and it was just a best of one, and everyone was going, lol, fuck Gen.G. Like,
get me out.
Right. First of all, a team that hasn't got its fully confirmed fifth yet playing against.
It's basically two pickups
on train. Yeah, essentially two pickup teams on train.
One of them won.
16-14. Yeah, lols. Yeah, exactly. One team must lose.
Also, mate, if Reddit want to talk about people like me and you, like, you know, hot takes and changing our mind stuff, y'all are going on best of ones. Like, you're losing your show one. Like, literally, how bad are some of these people? Like, you sit down like, well, I'm looking forward to seeing this team. They've lost one match. Get them out! Get them out!
Yeah, I know. Like, I've never seen such reactionary fucking
fire the whole team.
What are you?
Is this like that story where, like, years and years ago, supposedly, I think it was like the team from Iran or something in football went and they like lost in the fucking, I don't know, qualifier for the World Cup, and then there was some story that they got like flogged when they got home or something. Like, y'all are fucking expecting too much here, boys. One game.
I know. But I'll just say this. Obviously, so Cloud9, you know, cut their roster loose, and it is being talked about. They might be signing the South African team ATK that we just talked about. But the Gen.G, obviously coming into CS for the first time, I think. They've put this team together, and so far the confirmed roster is Automatic, so he's out of the Cloud9 prison. Might be in another prison, we'll wait and see. Daps is IGL. Kuster, and then the two pickups that we assume they're going to get, they've had Som's a player that's obviously been out there for a while, I think formerly in Complexity, and has sort of been touted as a great talent, but sort of hasn't had the opportunities to prove that one way or the other, despite looking great in, you know, pickup games and when he's streaming. And then super interestingly, Bentet might be finally getting out to Tai Lu and playing on this roster in the US. I don't know if that's visa dependent. I don't know if the deal's been done. I don't have any of the particulars in regards to that. But overall, like, listen, I shouldn't get excited by this lineup at all, because it's like gamble. There's something I like about it. There's something I really like about this lineup and the potential that it has, especially given it's reminiscent of NRG in the sense that these are young players, people that haven't had an opportunity to play with each other, and we've all seen what Daps can do with a team like that. Now, I don't think they're going to be world beaters. I don't think they're going to like be winning tournaments. I definitely think this is a team that if they fucking go off, they'll catch some motherfuckers cold. Like, they got upset team written all over them. And I'm very interested in seeing how Bentet does out of Asia, and in particular how Som is going to blossom, if indeed he is. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for people who don't remember this detail, because it's one I always used to stress every time we talked about Tai Loom, the upside of the team. As far as I'm aware, Bentet does not speak Mandarin Chinese. He was even the IGL of the fucking team at one point in time. So his teammates and people like somebody, by the way, barely speak any English whatsoever. So they were literally essentially not being able to communicate while doing shit like almost winning that CSGO Asia Championship back in the day, winning ridiculous maps off people. So Bentet's a player I've always wanted to see unleashed in like an NA team. It seems something I think I tweeted at the CAC. It's like, I'd love to see this guy get his chance, because individually he's a fucking banger. He's a really good player. Seems to have even good game sense to go with high mechanical skill. So I love that angle. That's a brilliant gamble to take. Remember, that's not the way we initially heard the roster. We just heard initially they've signed like the Cloud9 3. When I heard that, especially because Coaster's one of them, yeah, listen, Automatic is fallen off now, but he was very good, but he's fallen off now. And Daps was never a big fragger anyway. You just needed to give him good pieces. So when I first heard that, my initial reaction was like, how the fuck is Cloud9 must be the worst friends ever that they've tricked fucking Gen.G into taking these players off their hands for a big payoff. But then again, I saw Cloud9 signed, so maybe not. Maybe the cycle of maybe all CS is a fucking Ponzi scheme at this point in time. So anyway, then we saw the whole thing of like, they're gonna maybe have the SOM guy. It's like, all right. I mean, I guess I could see him having a chance. Like, you know, didn't play in many teams, only played a little bit online. Fair enough, give him a shot. The Bentet one, though, this is what makes all the difference, because I really think that's a huge X factor. That's a guy who could become a very good player. And at that point in time, if Automatic can get even like 70% of his form, Daps does his job, and you have Bentet going off, you've already got a team in NA that can already be a challenger among the top NA teams. You can be the third or fourth best NA team. The big problem is, like, Kuster is one of the biggest check stealers I've ever seen in the modern day of Counter-Strike. Like, he just hasn't done anything. What has he done? What has he actually done in the last 3 years or something? Nothing. Literally nothing. He was fucking shit even when he was on Ghost with a player that's banned and then players that probably cheat. That's enough said. I don't give a fuck, mate. I said probably. I said the word probably, to be fair. Like, you know, I just said, you know, gun to my head.
I knew I was lighting the fucking torch,
gun to my head. But it's okay. Coast, I'm just completely out on. SOM's a question mark. Like I said, you're right. Everyone's a question mark to a differing degree. Just the problem, and the problem with that is, unlike when Kerrigan got his Mousesports lineup, it's very rare that all the questions get answered. Usually, one question, like for example, in this team, maybe Ventette is just super insanely good, but the others fail. Maybe SOM turns out to actually be better than we expected, but then Kusta never gets it together and Automatic's form's not that great. So I agree with you. On one level, there's certainly things to be excited about. By the way, this is 100 times more exciting than some of the Cloud9 lineups and the fucking Envy lineups. Well, and it's the dot lineups where you just think, why they fucking bother? But I will say, it's like if Gen.G imagined they'd bought a team that's going to make like top 8 at the major or something, think again, mate. Think fucking again.
Well, I mean, speaking of Cloud9, I guess we just move on.
Why not?
Yeah, the ATK potential sign up. So ATK was the team we talked about earlier. Had that fucking upset against G2 at this.
Let me take this one first because I've got to say this.
No, jump in. Yeah,
we can't, in good conscience, roast Renegades for picking up just an even worse Australian team and just not showing any signs of wanting to compete where Renegades.
I had my roasting fucking equipment ready
and get Cloud9 and go. This is cool. All those people out there, I won't say by name, but just go on Twitter, you'll see them. All those people are like, great. I'm glad to see this team get a chance. You know what, mate? I agree with you. I'd like to see this team get a chance. I'd like to see them go to more lands because I've only seen one motherfucking land from this lineup and a bunch of online qualifiers. And at the LAN, what deep finish did they get? Did I mistake them going top 4 and beating? No, they just beat G2. All right, my bad. What the fuck are we talking about? Oh, they beat North. That's not an accomplishment in a best of 3. They're like a best of 1 team anyway. So the idea that you pick up this team, this is such a ridiculous jumping of the gun. And this is my problem. It's not my problem if Envy picks up this team, ATK. It's not even my problem if the new Gen.G team just didn't know anything and they picked up this team. We're like, hey, let's take a punt, right? Cloud9, your name is Cloud9. You won the fucking major only 3 majors ago. And before that, you always had a perennial contender, usually, if not on the outskirts, like a solid dark horse with the best NA players, or at least like among the top 10 NA players. What the fuck is this team? This team is a joke. Like, I'm sorry, this is not a team that's going to, with this 5-man lineup, do great things. Like, your best case scenario is the odd. It's like this team's actually on the level of the fucking new Renegade squad. They're not going to go to these big finishes. Like, I don't know what potential people think they're seeing. I get that they're happy for those players and the storyline that they came from South Africa and that they're but that's all brilliant. That's all brilliant. So unless Cloud9 is incredibly cynical and they have done what I would hope, which is sign this team and strip it bare and keep like 2-3 players that make sense, start bringing in stars, wait for EG or Team Liquid on Pro. If you're doing that, fair play. Maybe it's like a 10 move chess approach. But if this is the move that you think this team is good, then I think Cloud9 sucks as an organization at picking up talent. What the fuck is this? Yeah, so underwhelming, impossibly underwhelming.
No, I didn't think it was possible that they could have like disappointed me more than the last roster, which at least you had some players that had like story. Like I like this Sonic guy from South Africa. I've seen him play quite a bit in various lineups and stuff, and I think he's like pretty good.
I believe he was the best in that Bravado team or whatever.
Yeah, like back in Bravado and whatnot. Like I like that guy. He definitely deserves a shot at an international lineup. Rest of it, I'm not fucking sold on at all. And this is the thing, like what you say when you do this is you say Cloud9 are not top. We're not top tier anymore. We're not top shelf. Like we're not number 1. We're not even going to be coming close to that. We're not even competing. New organizations that are entering the like. I'd have been more excited if they'd picked up the Gen.G lineup.
Mate, at the same, what a bad look it is. What a bad look it is that at the exact same time, OG, who is essentially, by the way, parlaying the fact that their team won Dota 2 championships into them being a big org. Not a big org at all, by the way. I'll even tell you, here's a little gem for everyone. The whole reason why that deal took forever is because they were just lowballing motherfuckers all day long. They weren't coming in with big money bags like everyone hopes. So Cloud9, if you're not even in the mix for a team like that, full of vets, legends, up and coming, what are you in the market for? Sorry, I meant in the market for. Like, what the fuck are you? You're a budget org, are you?
But yeah, but that's where we're at right now. I don't know if something's happened. I don't know if Jack's like got really disillusioned with Cloud. I might I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna hit him up and say like, listen, me and you need to have a sit down and thrash this out publicly because I've got to know. Like, and I think the people have got to know what your thinking is here. And obviously, he might not give me honest answers, but I'll grill him if he's down for it because It makes no sense. None of this makes sense. You said you still cared about Counter-Strike. You said, Cloud9 I'm going to stay in Counter-Strike. We called that you were cutting this roster when you said that. So we expected something big. You've picked up an NA South Africa mix that's done nothing. You won a major, last year. This is the fall from grace for Cloud9 is ridiculous, and I'm worried. I think he's been spending too much time in the mix with these like fucking Activision Blizzard suck ups, like the endless. Hey, look,
it's definitely a different crowd, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a $20 million franchise, so we can secure $40 million of venture capitalist funding. Why is it worth $20 million? No one knows. Activision Blizzard said so. We just have to. Once you start getting in that world and you stop thinking about the actual nuts and bolts of what real esports is like, I think you're inclined to make decisions like this. I think you go budget. I think you go cynical. I think you throw it out there just so you can hit your deliverables for your brands. These cunts are just walking billboards. You've got no there's no chance of these guys winning a tournament. None at all. Like none. Not even the tier 2 or the tier 3, which I'm sure you will send them to. Which, by the way, what's the point? So this to me is like utter surrender from Cloud9 to as a top tier organization in Counter-Strike.
That's why
no disrespect to the players, but it's just reality again.
Like I said before, that's why I don't get the angle that people hype the G2 win. I know it's because the context, the contrast of G2 going almost and beating Astralis and then coming down and losing made G2 look good. But who said G2 was good? Did I miss that meeting? Like, as far as I know, everyone thinks G2 was like an experiment that didn't work.
Yeah, it's got problems, yeah.
Yeah, like no one was bigger than them. Like, it's not even like they essentially they did nothing. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They didn't, relative to their level, they did a lot. But that's the point. Their level was, their expectations was so incredibly low that beating G2 and still losing a map and getting wrecked by them on one map was like, oh my God, is this possible? Like, get me the fuck out.
I know.
That's garbage.
Yeah, it's real bad. I mean, again, this will be one of these things where Cloud9 will take these clips if they do come good somehow and win tournaments. But I just think they're just. So
I'm not worried
far
about
off.
that particular eventuality.
Mate.
That's like that one that people love.
This one feels very safe, doesn't it?
I'll tell you one of my favorite fan moves, right? Because I think it's literally an example of someone thinking they're being smart or funny, but saying what's almost the dumbest thing you can say. Is sometimes people will make a Reddit comment, right? Where when I say, for example, like, oh, TSM will never win Worlds or whatever in League of Legends, they'll be like, lol. Can you imagine his face if they did, though? It's like, mate, think about what you're saying. Reality would have to change so much. I may as well do that joke of like, are we still humans? Do we breathe air in this? Like, what are you talking about? Well, imagine what? What? Imagine if for one moment, every other aspect of the world was the same, so it could be funny and you could enjoy this moment, but somehow, inexplicably, the laws of physics, time, and space change so that TSM just wins world. Like, what are you talking about? You're just making up shit. If that's the limit, by the way, of your fantasies, like, just be a bit more imaginative, for fuck's sake. Make them just win everything. Why just win one Worlds? Give me a break. Get me out.
Anyway, this was breaking news while we were doing the show. MIBR have confirmed that Lucas is out. And they've decided to bring in the 17-year-old Argentinian called Mayern.
Okay, he was on Sharks.
Yeah. So they brought him in. Apparently it's fully confirmed. Kind of weird, to be honest. Like, listen, the kid looks decent, no doubt about it. I think this is again proof that MIBR can't get the Furia guys. They simply cannot. It's obvious they want. It's obvious to me. Fallen wants young players he can mold, and
by the way,
pulls off another Cold Zero.
Just so people don't think there's a connection, this isn't the same as Cloud9 getting bad players. MIBR even has the money. It's just some of these players cannot essentially leave. It's actually a mad situation.
Yeah. But this is, again, especially weird. They get that old Brazil line. The idea, by the way, famously, because I know people think that I don't like Brazil, which couldn't be further from the truth, because I love Brazilian history and Brazilian culture.
Obviously football as well, all the good shit.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, I read all about the history of it and the cultural significance. Even, like I say, I made a reference on the last podcast, when like Sepultura went and did the fucking album Roots, where they literally went to the fucking rainforests and made an album with a fucking try. Like, all that stuff's fucking straight fire. I love all that shit. But so historically, the idea of an Argentinian playing on made in Brazil. So obviously, there's a huge,
the biggest rivalry ever
there. Yeah, and it's not just, you know, historically it permeates through everything. You know, it's football, it's every, you know, all of the big sort of cultural touchstones in Brazil. So that's interesting, and I just wonder, like, if you were going to put pressure on a kid, I think this is like as high pressure a pickup I think I've seen. You know, for a 17-year-old to come into a team with some legendary players playing in a all Brazil lineup. Remember, obviously, they don't speak the same language, you know, just to make that abundantly clear. I think this is, you know, I think it's a tough environment for the kid, and I'm worried for his development here because, yes, I'm sure he will absolutely defer and learn from Fallen, but we all know playing for MIBR. There's a bit more to it,
isn't it?
Yeah, there's a bit more to it than just you playing with these great players. There's a culture there, there's a history there, there's a very difficult fan base to deal with if you underperform and cost them a series. And with everything that's going on, especially now, you're going to be playing on what is home soil for the org, but not for you, with the announcement of the major. Yeah, this is a tough one. He's a fantastic talent. He's a great player, but I don't know if this is the team. I don't know if this is the move for him. I got some worries.
Right,
someone in the chat says apparently he does speak Portuguese, so maybe the language thing won't be.
Well, that was the one angle I was going to go with, and I was going to say at the beginning, I obviously know fuck all about languages, but I did actually do pretty well in Spanish at school. Haha, fuck you, whatever. So all I would say is this: as far as I know, like the language is like, I think it's like 70 or 80% the same, but the difference is the accent is different. And crucially, I'll tell you one thing as someone who did do Spanish that is fucking hard, is if you go slowly and go la cocina, and then you go slowly, I could understand that. If you put it on text, I could understand. But I tell you what, I once tried watching a Spanish movie. I couldn't get anything, mate. Nothing. They were speaking so fast. So that's the problem.
They talk rapid, mate.
Even if
because you do, it's like when Northerners like get fucking pissed. We've had
so I could have totally seen in that scenario, like obviously apparently there isn't a language problem, but if there had have been, the fact that they're vaguely close wouldn't matter. It's the reason why famously, like people who are Swedish say they can't understand Danish people. Sometimes if it's written, they can understand it. They say like enough of it's similar, you know. So I'll say that angle. If that's not a big deal, fair enough. Then I'll just say on the other side, like I said, joining MIBR is a bloody poison chalice. Like it's like Fallen's like fucking Bluebeard, and then when you join the team, he goes, right, you can have the full run of these entire facilities, but don't ever go in that one room over. What's in that room? No, don't. Listen, you trust me, don't you? I won a lot of mates. Just don't go in that one room. So when you go in there, there's just fucking bolts his head on the wall. There's like the remains of Phelps, which has been twice brought through, and just blood everywhere. There's fucking like Lucas One's like barely even departed from there. His ghost is still in. Like fucking hell, give me a break. Like it's they've become the new Nip in that sense. Because they also they just let you get scapegoated on the way out.
It's spot on there. It is. And listen, did anyone, like, is anyone going to remember Lucas's contribution to MIBR? No. By the way, like, it's like I've already forgot who the fuck he is. Like, it's just literally, I guarantee you, in a year, if we're still doing this, like, and you would say, and it was this. Do you remember when MIBR played with that fifth guy? I won't be able to tell you Lucas ever played for this team. He did fuck all. He came. He was boring. He was mediocre. And then he left. Like, great, cool story. Like, it just makes no sense whatsoever.
Thing is, though, I've said this every time we've done the MIBR moves for the last year and a half.
Yeah,
I actually do feel for them. I think they're in a really tough spot
sure.
because almost every other top team in their region can get the young talent. That's it. Listen, if you can't get the best players, which is what you should get when you've got the money immortals in the MIBR as, you at least want the best talent. Like, give me at least the fucking up and coming guy, and I can shape him. MIBR can't even get those players. Like, those players are off limit. That's fucking brutal.
Tell you what, like, if I was a better man, I'd have a cheeky flutter on and winning the major though. I just think everyone will be shook as fuck.
Mate, I'm surprised. I'll be amazed if they even have a 5-man lineup for a major. These motherfuckers are constant to even get to a major.
I heard that they don't matter. Fallen didn't tell me that majors don't matter. But now you've got one in Brazil. I bet he's going to be saying the major is the best thing ever. Like, Players never change.
The only time you'll ever hear me say majors don't matter is when I'm talking about space souls. Get donked on, bitch.
I don't know why.
Totally unnecessary shot at major.
Doesn't even exist anymore. You sort of won that one.
Whatever. Okay. I win that one, Major. I win that one.
I won the mams. Right. Anyway, let's do Patron questions for those who are new to the show. If you chip in $50, because we're just bleeding every motherfucker dry for some reason, you can ask a question and shape the show. No, we don't take questions from the chat. Fuck you guys. You've got to be a hard-paying customer, but you do get to shape the show, and we do answer them all. So just letting you know. Jerky's Minion says, since the year is running on its end, what has been the best moment in CS for you this year? Ooh, so that's really hard.
I can go with this one. This is an easy one.
What's yours?
Because here's the thing. People will expect me to say Team Liquid's epic run, like all that. You know what? That was amazing. But the problem is, the context of why that didn't become the clear-cut and most amazing moment is the way Astralis resurrected like fucking Jesus on the third day. I'll always point this out because everyone forgets it.
It's always Jesus.
Listen, to go to reference, a lot of people know it's big in South America.
Cool guy. I like
So, no, the key thing is, people always forget this. They didn't start the major that strong either. They lost to fucking the NRG squad. They lost to fucking map to this crazy. But it's their miracle run where they went from being still a shaky enough team to the playoffs where they've never looked back since. And they haven't been peak Astralis. But I tell you what, they don't need to be. They're still the best team in the world. And so the way they won that major 2-0 over everyone, including two teams that looked like they absolutely could have beaten them, that was unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen it. And crucially, they've now entered the status with, I think, even beyond Virtus Pro, because Virtus Pro used to come back to life, but it's not like they won the major after that. The idea that you win, remember, no one in history's even won as a 5-man lineup 3 majors. So that already was insane. The idea you do it after your era, when you went off and you let your rival become the best, like that's just so impossible. It's one of those ones where, to use the cliche, like you wouldn't believe it in a movie. I would go, fuck off, writers. Like, that's so whack that you make that the storyline. You know, make them come close. I mean, make them come top 4 or something. Like, the idea you actually then win it and become the best again, it defies everything that we know about Counter-Strike. So I have to pick that as my moment of the year.
Yeah, it's a fucking tough one for me, man, because, like, you know, I want to pick out like individual plays, but it's like a question you need to be so prepped for, and I don't want to sell Jerky short by not being able to answer it. So I don't know if I might just fucking throw out some fucking bullshit. Fuck, man, like that's like some recency bias, because obviously I'm a fucking Kerrigan fanboy deep down as well. So seeing him get all teared up and win this fucking tournament, right, is fucking sick. Okay, here's one.
That's a legit contender, by the way, that run from Mousesports.
Oh, yeah, I know. Obviously, you feel a bit of recency bias with it, but, you know.
No, but even the stats, like, put it this way, you know, they were 2 rounds from beating Team Liquid. If they'd have won that match, they would have beaten the top 4 teams in the world in series in a row or something mental like that.
Yeah.
What more do you want? Like, that is movie level shit.
Yeah, for sure. So there's that. I mean, there was Ziwu's first professional tournament where he just fucking, I can't remember which one it was. He rocked up and just smashed everybody. There's like so many great moments from that. Man, fuck, it's hard. It's hard.
What about when FaZe won that Blast Pro?
Yeah, it wouldn't be that. It definitely wouldn't be that. Anyway, fuck that question, Jerky. I love you. Right, but Pounder 420, who is your favorite porn star?
There we go.
Can't answer that, really. Mate, I'm into all the old boomer porn stars anyway. Like, all my fucking porn stars are fucking long out the game now. Like, so.
Here's the thing.
I mean? I do love Riley Reid. She's fucking. I still love her, man. She's great. I follow her on Twitter. But again, I actually do follow a lot of porn and adult actors and actresses on Twitter, and like I occasionally get DMs from like weirdos who go, "See, you follow this fucking porn star?" Like, yeah. Haha, you follow a gay porn star? Yeah, his tweets are straight fire. Look at this shit. Like, what do you want? Like, it's Twitter. Like, does everyone I follow have to be like Noam Chomsky or something? Why can't I follow someone who's good at sucking dick? Like, what's the problem? Like, why is everyone mental? I don't know.
Right,
but I get that message a lot.
First of all,
go on then. I'm dreading this.
You're out of your motherfucking mind thinking you're going to trick me into telling you my sexual kinks on a fucking CS. But I don't care how much you pay to the Patreon, mate. You're never going to get me on that. So I'm not going to say the porn star, and then you just go and look what style of shit she's into. Now, what I will say is this. I'll give you an answer, and it's a good one. And if you don't know it,
I'll preface it by saying I'm into some sick, demented shit.
This is it.
But here's one that isn't.
But here's the thing. This is just someone who's legit. It's purely normal. But I'll preface it by saying one thing. I'm not going to go into why, but I have actually sort of started to distance myself from that world. And quite frankly, I'm enjoying the results so far. I've actually found it actually is beneficial to my work ethic, my concentration in life. I find that actually has been beneficial. I know it sounds like a meme, and the whole like no fap thing is ridiculous. Like they try to make it sound like you're fucking transforming.
Are you telling me you did no November?
No. But in general, I have definitely moved away from all that area, and I'm just not as interested now. And I found it is just. I think it's 1 Corinthians 1:13. When I was a child, I played childish things. I spoke like a child. Now I no longer do that. I'm hopefully, but with that said, I'll give you an example of you'll think this is a boomer, but I tell you what, this is a boomer in the same way as like fucking Alan Shearer's a boomer. Yeah, he's a straight fire player though, and he could play in any era. So you ready? This porn star,
it's Alan Shearer.
This porn star could get down in any era, and that's going to be the often miscalled Heather Brooke. That's actually from a video where there was two of them. There was a girl called Brooke and one called Heather. She was the woman who did that site called iDeepthroat.com. She's fucking unreal. She's one of the old classics. And all she did is just give her man the fucking time of his life every time. She was unreal, mate. She's as good as any that I live to this day. She was a titan of her time. She was the Pele of sucking that dick. That's the end of the show. Go to the next question.
Thing is as well, that wasn't even his question.
I know.
He said, when Do Not Peak set up their studios, will you come back to broadcasting if desk segments start being hosted? I would, absolutely. I'd go and work for Do Not
I'll be
Peak
real.
Studios.
You know
it's
what?
Only just a hop, skip, and a jump for me.
I know we're supposed to go. I love Scoots and Alchemists, and I support them and everything they do. You know, I make that joke. Like, y'all cheer when I don't do majors.
Can't wait to see this bridge get burned down. Go on then, don't hit me with it.
Y'all cheer when I don't do majors because you go, brilliant, the no majors club. I go, you mean the no money club? What the fuck are you talking about? I would get, the day rate I'm on now, you idiot. I'm giving up a lot to get now and just talk shite. Like, so the problem is this. I love Do Not Peak, but they're not going to be paying me any sick event day rate anytime soon. So unfortunately, I would potentially go out there in my downtime and do something and see those guys and they're cool and work on projects for the love of the game. The idea we're going to do whole events, unless they're going to get some big time sponsoring, which quite frankly, I don't know what their business plans. I don't know if that is even the model they're going for, like the Dota 2 approach. If they could do it, yeah, I'd be in. But it costs a lot to get talent nowadays. It's a big deal. And the problem is, I know no one believes this because they're idiots. I already turn down events as Richard does. So in this scenario, like if I'm turning down an event where I could literally get paid like fucking 8K by someone to do a good set of teams, what's the odds I'm going to go for free and do this, except if I'm doing it as a half holiday, you know? At this point in time, it's just not feasible.
I mean, like me, like I say, because it's only just the next day.
That's also different.
It's like a 45-minute flight for me. I'll just be like, all right, fuck it. I'll come down and do it. But, obviously I still want to get some paper, but I'll do mates rates. And the interesting thing is I think they are talking about like, doing remote segments. And then
that would be interesting. I've always been
you beam the segment in, so it's a big event, but exactly. Like, just there. Yeah.
That's something I've been interested in because, again, I would say this. Like, I know if you watch Instagram, or every pro player in the fucking world's in business class on every long-haul flight. I'm not. They're not putting me in there, mate. I'm still sat with my knees against the back of that guy in the front and then a kid behind me, and I don't give a fuck anymore, mate. They do it. They knock on my chair even twice. I just turn around. I say to the dad or something like, sort your kid out. I'm going to fucking tell the flight attendant now. And I turn back around, put on that fucking straight fire Kanye Yandy album. You start listening on there. And wait for that little shit to get it together.
Listen, my views on that are well documented in the podcast. Like, it's ridiculous. Again, it's just the height of selfishness. Like, it's just so outrageous. Like,
it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, your playground in the sky, so we all have to fucking suffer, right? Not the kid, I mean the parents.
Yeah, of course.
Kids can't help it, can they? Anyway, any funny stories about the French scene? This is some mid-raisins. Any funny stories about the French scene back when they were good earlier in CSGO? I'll give you a real old school fucking story that we never told this on the podcast before. So it's old school. It's from Counter-Strike Source. So obviously at this point, right, Very Games were the best team in the world. Now I think it was when it was with Very Games, but it could have been the brief period where they were with Nameless. I'm not too sure. This was Copenhagen Games 2010. It was the first, I think it was the inaugural Copenhagen Games. And anyway, there was this Australian team that went out there, and that was formed by the old guard from like the Sydney Underground days, Boomser, Tags, you know, these guys. And anyway, fucking Boomser was like a big drinking, big lad. And he was like fucking, you know, really gregarious, liked to do all the interviews and stuff, you know, super cool guy. He's still working in esports now, I think. And anyway, they had to play the fucking French boys, right? And the French boys back then, thinking about it, I think it might have been nameless. They used to turn up in fucking suits to these. Like, and this isn't no joke. It was like KRL, fucking RPK, and they used to have like shirts and jackets, and they used to dress a bit smart. And it's like, you come into a fucking event, like, you know, we're all fucking sat in our fucking, you know, 3/4 shorts, beer hanging out, like, you know, and you're fucking coming dressed like that. So Boomser did this interview, right? Where he said, and it went up on Cadred or whatever, and he said, somebody asked him, because I didn't do this one, like, what do you think about, you know, you've got to play very games on Nameless or whoever it was in the next round, like, what do you think about them wearing suits? I don't even know how that come up. And Booms has said, I think it's great, like, when you see RPK come in, and he's all smart, and he's the best player in the world, it's a lot better than being a fat mess that smells of balls. That was the quote, right? But RPK's English weren't so good. So he thought
he was saying he fat mess.
He thought Booms has said RPK is a fat mess that smells of balls. So RPK,
and to be honest, no one had even smelled RPK at that time. The old classics are always the best. They keep going.
Right? No. So RPK, because he used to have a nickname back in the day, they used to call him the fucking Godfather, because obviously he's got that kind of pit bull kind of features like Brando had in the movie, but also he's meant to be a guy who's like, you don't fuck around with him, like, you don't take no nonsense. Yeah. But Booms is a big fucking Australian who was probably drinking all fucking day, because that's just how he used to roll. So anyway, this whole fucking shambles happened over a complete fucking misquote, people squaring up to each other. I've never seen RPK so fucking livid. I thought he was just going to fucking 1v5 him. And then we had to explain, like, oh, no, he was actually paying you a fucking compliment. He still weren't happy with that. He fucking stormed off. Anyway, they played the game and banged him out 16-4, and RPK was there, like, you know, fucking giving it that. So just saying, you got to be careful when you're trying to pay people compliments in esports. So there you go. Don't know if you've got a fucking French scene.
I'm trying to think of ones that are legit to tell, though, because obviously you don't want to reveal too much stuff from behind this.
True. Well, here's another fucking hilarious.
Oh, I'll give you one then, because here's the one.
Sixer was the top 10 ranked player back.
That's a pretty good one.
10 years
no,
ago.
I'll give you one here, because here's the thing. In this one, the person saying something to me doesn't actually seem that bad. I'm the villain of this story. I'm the one who's the asshole who gets shown up, okay? So at an event, I'm off the top of my head, I'm going to say DreamHack Masters Malmo 2016, the first one they did, where at the time, G2, if you remember, this is when they'd just gone mad with Shocks and Scream, and they were banging everyone out. But already you could see Smiths was like a problem in that team, because the other two were so absurdly good, and then RPK and Body did their jobs, and there was one guy, it was like the Navi situation. It was like, mate, we can already win tournaments. If we have a different guy instead of fucking Smiths, fucking hell, we could be like the best team in the world. So everyone in the world was thinking that. Everyone was seeing, actually, I think I've got the timing wrong. I think they had that lineup, but I think this is when, I think that was the first tournament after they kicked existence. They went on this run afterwards. But anyway, Smiths himself wasn't good in this team, right? And what happened was, at this event, I was stood with like Semler, a few other people, and Shocks came over because he knows Semler and me, you know, a bunch of people from the beginning of CSGO. Yeah. And he comes over and they're all having a cigarette, just talking, you know. And then Shocks said something like, at the time he'd complained, you know, he had like RSI or something. Like he was like, oh, I've got like RSI in my thing. And I like it in my own inimitable fashion, just said, why not just have Smiths do that? They used to be doing something in the team. And then Shocks actually just said, it's one of the only times anyone's ever actually got to me in this way. Because normally I banter them out, whatever they say. But he just turns to me and he goes like, can you have some respect? Like, you know, he is trying. No, I can't remember what else he said, but basically, it's one of the few moments I was actually like, fair enough. Yeah, I apologize for that.
Yeah, you had to tip you had to. Like.
But then I can't lie. When he went away, I did just think, like, should do something like fucking wankers. Whatever, you know. It's even legends, you know, whatever. You know.
Nah, like the French.
And was I wrong? Was Smiths in fact shit or not over that year? I'll leave it to the jury to decide.
But no, the French league, those were always good guys. There was like a ton of stories coming out there. The invention of the Shoxy Red Bull, like just all these like.
Oh, there's some amazing ones. Yeah,
no, like one day, like the tell-all book.
Oh yeah,
That'll be
put it this way: people don't know this, but in the modern day, no one will ever be able to live the way that Envious lineup did. But here's the cool thing: they were like they were like Oasis. They were like the last of the great dinosaurs. They were the last rock and roll fucking team that really played like this. Like when you hear about 70s football teams that were like winning the championship and always getting pissed on the night and stuff, like they were on that level. And so in a way, as much as you do think, well, couldn't they have accomplished more? On another level, you just think, what a fucking brilliant story.
Oh yeah, you have to admire it. Yeah, like there's something in you when you see someone so talented, but they don't adhere to the rules and they still win shit anyway. You know, like George Best Factor or whatever. But we all know that story ends and it's with a second liver, so be careful. Anyway,
yeah, the one too many shots Red Bulls himself, and the one
I heard George Best tried to Shoxy Red Bull. That's what killed him the second time. Like when he's fucking
he goes
wrecked his second liver.
Bloody pussy little fucking alcohol pop or something. Get that Red Bull out of there.
Right, anyway, J-Dubs, what's the most emotional or incredible esports moment you've witnessed live? Boston Mage is definitely up there for me. Oof. Off the top of my head. But again, you see, that's across all games. I've seen some insane shit.
There's a couple. I'll try and think of, as I'm doing them if I can think of one. I'll tell you one right now was, you know what, this is a weird one because this is like a personal story. But if people don't know, of the pro players, one of the players I've always had a very strong connection with is Kenny S. And behind the scenes, one of the people I've actually had a lot of like heart-to-hearts with and stuff, you know. And so people might remember this. This isn't the story, but one of the reasons why, like, he will always be like, let me think how you just... One of the reasons he'll just always, like, vouch for me, basically, you know? It doesn't matter how many times I say he's bad if he plays badly, he'll never take it to heart, right? Is because famously, the year that they won the major, when he won Cluj-Napoca, was when he'd cried after he'd lost the match before. Yeah, and I basically sent him a message privately. I also made an actual article out of it, where I basically just told him privately, like, you know, you'll make them cry those tears, blah, 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 whatever. So anyway, because of that, you know, you never know when you have friendships with players, if that's just like a short time thing, you know, they're cool we now. Well, what happened was last year, funny enough, at the ESL Cologne tournament you were talking about, G2 with that lineup where they had Existence and Shocks and Kenny S, well, they had that one good tournament run where they made top 6 at that major. And so when they made top 6, they had to play big in a game they actually ended up losing. But as he was walking out to the stadium, you know, when you come out that moment, if you've ever seen the players walk out in Cologne, it is basically an ego moment because it's everyone in the world's looking at you and you're just like, yeah. And, you know, if you get right or whatever, you Zeus, you're doing all shit to the camera, whatever, you know, you're just walking out. It's all about getting all the fans to clap your hands, get hype, right? As he was walking out, you probably can't see this on camera. I'd love to see if you could. Kenny S, right, looks over, and because our desk faces actually forwards and we can just see the people coming out, Kenny S looked over, and when he saw me, he just did this. He went, and then just looked out. Mate, that's actually a fucking sick moment. Like, in that moment, I was actually like, fucking hell, it wasn't just words. It actually had an impact on this guy. Actually, basically, what he was essentially doing was just going like, I'm going to fucking do this. Now, they didn't. It wasn't his fault, actually. He carried the first map from what I remember. But that's one of those rare moments you can have, like, a connection that goes beyond the industry and the show and all that bullshit, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of like me and Henry in a lot of ways, you know, because we've been around like with each other for such a fucking long time. And I, you know, met him when he was like a 15, 16-year-old kid, just sort of getting into the industry and stuff. And yeah, I mean, like with that in mind, like, you know, it sounds stupid, but to this day, the best moment for me was like I-34 with the fucking team that I managed, the 4 Kings lineup that we had, where we loaned Henry. From, I don't even remember if he was in the team officially. We loaned him from somewhere. We had G there, and we fucking we ended up like fucking beating like the number one. Oh, sorry, the team that wasn't just ranked above us in the UK rankings, but a team that was like absolutely fucking hated us. They'd all played on teams with each other called Crack Clan, which was managed by Ben Woodward and Luke. You know, from who were like, we're all mates now. You know, they run Code Red now. But anyway, they fucking hated me, and all those players hated all of our players. And we were up late last night because we had like G, who's like, you know, known for this shit. And he was staying up and he was going like, oh, Guns, do you think we'll win tomorrow? It's like 4 a.m. I'm like, get to bed, George, get to bed. Like, we're all in the hotel room together. We all been watching demos. And when we went in and we won that game, it was like a triple overtime on Inferno. Like, so, and we won it because somebody didn't buy a defuse kit on Crack Clan. Henry fucking stood up, throws his fucking headset down. He's fucked it, lads! He's fucked it! So it's just 10 seconds of knowing you've lost while you try and do a full defuse. And Henry's like, he's fucked it, lads! He's fucked it! Like, wrecking.
True UK spirit, of course.
Yeah, wrecking, because we were like 2 rows apart and everybody wanted to see that game that day. That was like the big grudge match. So we didn't even need an admin partition. We were just surrounded by people on the fucking tables, right? So I'm in a trance, like there's a famous picture, well, not famous, you know, because I'm not famous, but you get my point. There was this picture that gets put around a lot, and it's Hudge G going up like this, Henry G with the headset down, shouting, he's fucked it, and me just like in a trance-like state, like, you know, full James Banks in. Would you look at that? It just hasn't gone in at all, that we've won the game with this 10-second gap. And then boom, when the bomb fucking went off and we won, we fucking piled in on each other, like, because, you know, we collapsed the fucking table. There was some poor kid who was just playing next to us, nothing to do with the team. Completely wrecked.
It's an I series.
Yeah, because it's an I series, so it's just some fucking pleb who's like playing it. Like, he's just playing World of Warcraft. And we're fucking jumping on the tables and shit. And like it was just a like huge adrenaline dump because so much went into that game. Now we got absolutely fucking wrecked in the next round, and we went out in like 4th place or something stupid. But that'll always be the best for me because like nobody said we could win that game, and it was so cathartic for guys like Callisto. Now Jack Frags was in that team, and Tills, and, you know, just other guys that have been told you were washed up, you were never going to make it in the UK, and we beat this fucking team full of, like, you know, all these like big names. So that's it for me, 100%. That's why me and Henry are so tight, you know, because like we've been there for all them moments. Anyway, Mike feed me. I'm curious about the different styles of IGL between, say, Kerrigan and Golden. Kerrigan seems to be able to go anywhere with whatever talent you give him and succeed. Golden is very successful with this Fnatic lineup specifically. What do you think the difference in their styles are? Well, I've got a lot more information and data points on Kerrigan than I do on Golden, frankly. And as I've said, Kerrigan is a guy who comes and he wants to rule by committee, in the sense that he wants you to buy into what he's doing and he wants you to feel good about it. And if you don't and you want to change position, he'll always put himself in the worst position so you can have a slightly better chance at succeeding. He's very selfless like that. But that's unfortunately why when he plays with big egos, it has a tendency to go wrong, because if you give a big ego a say around the table, they suddenly think they're the most important voice at that table and it undermines you as an IGL. Now with Golden, from what I can tell, Golden was sort of a little bit the opposite because he came through the academy team. So he was like really like reverential of playing with these fucking great Fnatic players. And, you know, he was like 24, I want to say 23 when he came through the fucking academy team. I even think, wasn't he an AWPer? Like,
no, you're thinking of Jay-Z walking, I think.
No one's thinking about him.
I didn't see him in the academy team.
No, I don't know if Golden. I don't know if Golden did up in the old team. But anyway, back in the academy side, anyway, you know, I don't think he was ever sort of earmarked as being like this great prospect. So when Fnatic brought him through, we were like fucking, oh, it's no big deal, you know. But he was like really super like grateful for the opportunity. You could see he looked up to these guys, and I think that he had a baptism of fire because he realized that you might look up to those pros, but they don't think about you at all. And you're the leader. You've got to call and tell them what to do. So apparently what he tried to do was sort of blow them away by having like real high-level tactics, a very good solid playbook, and almost a rigid system. And he would just trust that people would be able to go that extra little bit beyond because it's Crims, because it's Flusher, because it's JW. So, you know, they're a little bit different in that sense. Kerrigan's definitely a much more flexible kind of guy. Likes to do a lot of mid-round calling as well. Golden, to me, kind of feels a bit more playbook, but also as well, I think the relationship that he had there, where he was super reverential, probably helped them succeed, because he'd been watching these players and idolizing these players, and when he finally got a chance to work with them, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. So I think those are two kind of differences that would stand out for me.
Yeah, I don't have much to say on the Golden angle because I don't think that enough info's really come out about what he's done in the teams. And obviously half the problem is we can't expect cunts like fucking Cloud9 and Fnatic to tell us the truth, can they? Because the circumstances mean they can't, essentially. So the problem is I feel like you'll need a year or two before we really get a sense of who Golden is as an actual IGL. Like at the moment, he's got some really good fraggers, so tough to tell. I'll just say this about Kerrigan. I'm definitely working on some big content pieces about Kerrigan, because actually he's one of the few people I've never really written pieces about, even though, like you, I'm a massive fan of his. I think he's a brilliant guy. Like, one of the things I think he has one of the best reads for that I've ever seen in Counter-Strike is just like on the fly switching things up. He is unbelievable. I even think that has literally, as I mentioned in the past, also been his detriment at times. Like, I think that's what happened to him in the major final against Cloud9. He thought, right, I've done it. And then he thought he could just call his way through that. And I think if you went back in time now and you gave him the like 15-11 lead or whatever, he would just run a few boring strats that would it would be the equivalent of like running the ball over the 1 yard line, you know. In his analogy, he was trying to call the best fucking throw every time and make the crazy way to finish the major in the most epic fashion and be the hero in a way. So, but I'll say it, the reason why he had the arrogance and conceit to do that is because no wonder this guy wanted all the big guns and all the money that FaZe could put behind him. Because when you're as insanely intuitively good at calling the game and reading it as he is, you give me the best weapons and you'll have tournaments like ESL 1 New York 2015 where nobody can fucking touch you. Then you'll go to E-League, nobody wins a map off you. Like when he's at his peak, I mean, you see even in this Mouse team, which is a much more diminished team in comparison, or yet to be great players, look what he can get out of players. It's unbelievable. And part of that is like feel for where we need to be in the game, what we need to do, who to lean on even, on what map and stuff, you know. It's ridiculous how good an IGL this guy is.
Watch Doge said on this week's Browns Watch, did the Browns win? I'll be honest, I've been the reason that I was fucking up so early this morning to do this other podcast with Brycey, our mate fucking B-Ray. I was fucking up all night working on some of the story, big ones, got nothing to do with eSports, so I haven't even been paying any attention to football. But yeah, it said, also, do I plan on future discussing anti-Semitism within the Corbyn's Labour Party? Well, that would be a delightful topic. But I mean, listen, I was thinking about staying up and watching the fucking election roll in. Maybe me and Sam do a drunken election stream, but I don't think Sam really gives a fuck about
Yeah,
that.
I'll
just say this.
I'll watch a world burn with you tomorrow.
The only way you'll catch me watching the fucking Cleveland Browns versus the fucking Bengals, whoever the fuck game you're talking about, is if I'm watching Bill Belichick's recording of the Bengals bench. So I can find out all their calls as well. Oh, sorry, I was not supposed to say that. I'm supposed to still pretend that that's a real team that doesn't cheat for all its entire... Like, no, weird that. Yeah. It's weird how Alex Ferguson also had an amazing streak of just winning no matter what and getting like 90% of calls in Fergie time. Like, it's weird how these guys can't ever play by the rules, isn't it? Fuck them. That's what I say.
Good.
Just alienate everyone at the end of the show, all the glory.
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's all right, mate. I've been banging on fucking eSports fans for the last 3 podcasts I've done, so what the fuck? Anyway, Alice the Alchemist for the final question. Having not watched the CS 1.6 era as much, has there been an era of competitiveness during the 1.6 times that is comparable to the year we've had in CSGO in terms of the super high level of rivalry and intensities of matchups? I mean, the problem you had with 1.6 is you had great rivalries and great matchups, but it kind of never felt like there was a lot of them. It was always like there was like 1 or 2 games where it could go either way, and you always look forward to when they rolled around. And you know, you had El Clasico, SK, Fnatic was always something that was like highly anticipated. Those players knew each other. It always gave you brilliant, memorable Counter-Strike. But yeah, it never. It felt like you really had the depth, but you never had the breadth.
No. The problem in that, like you say there, like the problem in the scenario there was you had a few teams that were incredible and could play in any era and some of the greatest teams ever, blah, blah, blah. But you didn't have like our top 10 now. Like literally what's been really giving me an appreciation for Counter-Strike right now is when I've done my last 3 CSGO world rankings, because I'm getting so that the team that's in 9th place has like a top 4 at a big tournament, has won 2 or 3 big series over a put. Like, fucking hell, the team in 9th place. When I started the rankings in like 2014, the team that was in 9th place, I'd have to be picking between teams of like, well, this guy came last at the LAN, but he won 1 map. And then this other team like came 4th at like a tier 3 tournament. So where the fuck does like trying to do all mathematical equations in my mind? That would be like the 9th best team. It wouldn't be someone good. The idea that like you can have teams like 100 Thieves now further down the rankings, like some of these squads down there, Mousesports was down there a couple ago. Like the quality in the top 10 is unfucking believable. It's really next level. So the problem is there's maybe one period I can think of in Counter-Strike, which is like 2006, where it had become more of a global game. Now the Brazilians were fully on board. Now you started to get the teams from South Korea and stuff coming over, and the Chinese team. At that point, you had a very competitive top 10. So maybe that one period, but the big problem 1.6 as a game had was, in terms of each region, there was very few teams that could play. Like if you were from Sweden, there was like 2 teams could play internationally. One that could hope to challenge, but then would just get the players taken by SK Fnatic.
Yeah, you'd have like a lemon dogs mix.
You basically couldn't have the same like breadth as you see. You couldn't have like 10 good teams that could have all competed. Whereas right now, the top 10 is crazy enough that by the time you're at about 8 or 9, there's a world in which those teams win a tournament. They could go crazy and do it. It's not impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're seeing the evidence with Mousesports, right? So, anyway, there you go. That's all the questions. So we'll wrap it up now. It's been a bumper episode of the podcast. Just to let you all know, we are looking to do a 100th episode spectacular, even though this was really the 100th episode.
Just a scheduling issue.
Yeah, it's just a scheduling stuff with Anders and Moses coming on. Hopefully that's something we can get going on. Seems to be what people wanted to go with, and we're happy to do it. And actually, funnily enough, Jason hit me up and said, listen, I'd really like to do that show. I had a lot of fun last time. So he actually is 100% in. We're just trying to fit around Anders' schedule and, of course, his day rate, if I can afford it.
Now, if he can just get into that wheelchair, we can go ahead and...
Cerebro. Anyway, Jason is my Cerebro. I love him. Right, so let's shout out the patrons. Thanks to... .com first. Shout out to them. Obviously sponsor the show, sponsor the channel. Great sponsors. Go get over there. There's all sorts of great content coming. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. A big Christmas present for me would be getting them over 10K on the YouTube subs, because they're at about 7.8K subs, and it should be way higher. The Fnatic content they're doing is really good. They're asking Flusher the hard questions. I'm joking. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, right. There it is. Yeah. I can see what you were thinking.
Well, here's the thing. Actually, I saw JW's, and in JW's, he did actually say that the best player he'd played with, I think this is the right video, was Flusher. Yeah, I fucking bet it was.
There it is.
Because you knew by technology, he was technically the best player ever.
He was the lawnmower man. So,
almost inhuman, some would say.
So anyway, our $100 patrons that brought the show back from the dead: Jerky's Minion, Alice the Alchemist, Choke Me Daddy, formerly known as Detlef Insomniac, God Magic, and Reykjavik Odd Steam. Our $50 patrons: Benakagi Assassin, Butt Pounder 420, Carve, Colin Penny, Flacksmith, J Dubs, Lipscomb Davis, Madsen, Marcus Kiumpar, Mike Feed Me, Nemesis, Nikolai Lundgreen, Sard Sawar, Sunmade Raisins, TC Owens, Tobias Bernasconi, and Watchdogs. Thanks to you all. Thanks to all the people who also subscribed during this and threw some donations in there. Do appreciate y'all, and we'll be back with a Christmas episode of By the Numbers sometime soon. Watch this space. Until then, take care of yourselves. Peace.